You're gonna work on your wire. All right, we are live. Let's move back where I like to be. Eh, eh. Yeah, yeah. What are you making? He's got wire and tape. He's making a skyscraper. I said hi. We're streaming. We're live. We might be doing crafts. We might be playing games. We're gonna watch a little bit of YouTube videos since there's so much drama happening. And then, yeah, yeah. Let's see what Aspen has to say about this. Probably isn't gonna comment on the Valkyrie thing.
People messaging me like, "Oh, there's this thing that happened. Pokimane and Lily Pichu canceled their podcast featuring Hassan." Small update. This is a tough one to write, but we wanted to give you all a heads up that we're unfortunately going to be missing our first scheduled Saturday video tomorrow. We've been watching the recent drama unfold concerning our guests. Our community is our favorite thing, and the reason we do this is to create a space that is comfy as always and a true escape. So basically, they didn't want to have Hassan on the show because of the dog thing, right? I mean, you know it, I know it, everybody knows
Hassan the dog
it's better, okay? You think,
That's
okay,
right.
all right, yeah, that makes sense, right? So Pokimane comes out and tweets the episode was supposed to air as usual, but staff refused to upload it out of fear it had caused drama and posted this statement without my approval, sad face. Sorry, guys. We'll talk about everything on this week's episode and go on hiatus afterwards to restructure. Now, let me go ahead. You guys like translation? Okay, so what does this mean?
Fired.
That's it. That's what it means. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. I really feel bad for the staff. The reason why I say that is because I think that she should understand. While
I think she didn't communicate clear enough,
and they're going to defend her, a lot of her staff don't have that. The staff are now getting attacked on social media to throw the staff under the bus and to say that, oh,
I think she did make the decision and then got
now the Hassan
heat
fan
from
base
Hassan
will
and
dislike them. They're also going to get hate because they were associated with Pokimane now, who is, you know, like okay with doing it. So you're effectively having everybody attack you now, and basically everybody is hating them, right? Like everybody is mad. Throwing your staff under the bus instead of disavowing animal abuse is definitely something I'd expect from you. Imagine firing your staff because they don't like puppy torture. I would feel bad for her, but you did throw your staff under the bus. You did, and you could say they threw you under the bus or they didn't communicate with you, but you don't have the same position that they do, and so you have to be empathetic and see it from another person's point of view.
What, buddy? The Ferris wheel's gone? Oh, that's sad. At least you got to ride it. Oh, yeah, the space launch.
Starting with liftoff, we'll get into the flight profile here. Super Heavy will ignite 33 engines, 24 of which are flight proven today. We'll power through ascent ahead of hot stage separation, where booster will shut down all but 3 engines. Stage 2 lights its Raptor engines while still attached to Super Heavy. That is what we call hot stage separation. We'll see a directional booster flip and engine relight for boost back. And we'll be intentionally headed to a splashdown in the Gulf with a V3 style landing burn demonstration today.
Meanwhile, ship will continue with its ascent burn to a suborbital trajectory, where it will attempt to deploy 8 Starlink simulator satellites. And we're also planning to relight a single Raptor engine. Then it's time for re-entry, where we're once again testing the limits of Starship's heat shield by intentionally removing tiles. The ship will also perform a pretty dynamic banking maneuver that mimics the path of a return to launch site for Ketch that will fly on a future mission. And if all that goes as planned, we'll conclude the test with a landing flip, and soft water splashdown in the Indian Ocean. So definitely another action-packed flight profile again.
It's planned to be the final launch of this version of Starship, version number 2. Right now, we're actively building multiple next-generation V3 Starship and Super Heavy vehicles in the factory, kind of right behind us, so let's take a minute and nerd out a little bit. All right, so it's going to be launching from Pad 2, which is nearing completion down here at Starbase. Both the pad and the vehicles are going to roll in really significant changes. This is building on everything we've learned from all of these flight tests to make a vehicle that we're looking to mass produce. Starting with the Starship upper stage, which is going to look pretty similar on the outside, but it's getting pretty much a complete overhaul under the hood.
No, thank you.
We're getting major design changes to its propulsion system that's going to accommodate that new version of Raptor, which puts out higher thrust. We're also getting an energy storage upgrades, tons of avionics changes, a lot of things that will enable longer duration missions. One notable thing you'll start seeing on the outside are these.
I know how to press the mute knob.
Which we'll use
Come here.
when we bring two starships together for propellant transfer. That's a core capability of Starship that we're going to demonstrate next year.
You don't need me to
Starship we're planning to use for all of our next major milestones.
Oh yeah,
missions,
Rocket Boy.
Return to launch site and catch, reuse, propellant transfer, and then making our way to the moon and Mars.
You're making a rocket. Oh, you knocked over your rocket already.
Hardware already coming out of the factory. It has upgrades like this, a redesigned fuel transfer tube. That thing's roughly the same size as the first stage of a Falcon 9 rocket. That channels all that cryogenic fuel down to Super Heavy's 33 engines.
All right, Rocket Boy.
Made it bigger. It's basically a rocket inside of our rocket that gives us a faster, more reliable,
a part of it, yeah,
and simultaneous engine startup. New booster also
because he's being such a whiny baby.
A lot more vent area, and it's designed to be fully reusable. Pressure from those engine plumes gets vented out, mostly offset just by the pressure in the fuel tank. That is the top of the fuel tank. And then we add a non-structural layer of steel on the top that helps take all the heating. It's mapped to where all the high heating goes. Grid fins also getting a big change, going from 4 down to 3. They're 50% larger, though, much higher strength. They're also going to get used for vehicle lift and catch. That's all made possible. There's a new catch point addition on those grid fins. We've also kind of reclocked their position on the booster that aligns them with the catch arms. We got right in the middle there. All right, and then powering it all, Raptor 3. Looks radically different, just straight up radical. Tons of major changes. It's coming in higher thrust, dramatic reduction in parts, tons of control mechanisms moved inside. Our McGregor teams built some additional stands like this one, which essentially is the bottom of a super heavy booster, lets us do gimbal or steering tests. So that's been really exciting to see. We've also been getting vacuum versions of Raptor 3 into test. The first flight engines are already in production and are about to start acceptance testing for Flight 12. So a lot of exciting changes coming, and we're getting ready to mass produce everything, including one of the really key contributors to that rapid reusability, the heat shield tiles. Let's move over to Tyler real quick in Hawthorne, who's got a really cool look at what's happening with tiles in Florida.
Thank you, Dan. Indeed, Starship's heat shield is the linchpin to full and rapid reusability. We can't launch, land, refuel, and launch again if we have to spend months refurbishing the heat shield after every launch, like they did in the Space Shuttle program. So, in a future where Starship is flying several times a day, many, many thousands of heat shield tiles will be required. So yeah, we need to get cooking on those tiles, which is exactly what's happening inside the fully automated bakery down at the Cape. In just 3 years, tile production at the bakery has surpassed the total number of tiles produced during the 30 years of the shuttle program. To go from the raw material to a finished tile, it takes about 40 hours. And today, the bakery is producing about 1,000 tiles a day. But it's set up to produce enough tiles for 10 ships per month, which is about 7,000 tiles a day, or a tile off the line every 13 seconds. So yeah, the bakery is well on its way to providing Starship with all the tiles for missions to Mars and beyond. And for today's flight, we've made a modification to the heat shield tiles. Dan, do you mind filling us in on what's being referred to as the Crunchwrap tile?
Absolutely. I always love to get to do a little show and tell. So we've got thousands of these heat shield tiles covering Starship. Now they're kind of all next to each other. There's a small gap in between all of them. You got to leave a little bit of space as that metal underneath will expand and contract. That way they don't crunch into each other and start breaking. However, that lets some of that plasma kind of seep through, and we see really high heating on the sides and then down on the metal. To help fix that, we have this, the crunch wrap that everyone has heard about. So we take essentially that's called Vulcan felt that we then wrap around. And so as these tiles are next to each other, you've got a small bit in between that's going to help offset that heating. It's just one of the ways we're continuing to iterate on this heat shield, getting towards rapid reusability. Hopefully it's going to help Starship live Moss. You know, everything is just going to get us to that end state of a fully and rapidly reusable vehicle. So pretty much the entire vehicle has those on it today. We've done this on multiple Starships previously, but this time pretty much the whole vehicle has it. So that was special for today. All right, enough heat shield tiles. Let's go quick check-in on the pad. So if you did notice, we did shift our T0 just a little bit. We're now counting down to 6:23 and 41 seconds Central Time. We shifted a little bit as we were working to finish clearing the range. We are monitoring sea and airspace, both here over the Gulf and in our splashdown location over on the Indian Ocean. We were working with the FAA, a lot of other international agencies to coordinate all of this. Good news, range is currently green. We're able to get everything out of the way that we are tracking in the Gulf. So weather status, I don't even really need to do, not a cloud in the sky, beautiful day, no probability of violation for launch at this point. We're not currently tracking any issues on the vehicle or the pad. You can see our fill levels are getting up there. We're almost completely done with our propellant loading. We've gone through all of our checkouts so far this morning, aligning our guidance, navigation, and control system, getting the vehicles ready for prop load, the farm. Everything has gone pretty smoothly so far. We got through our go, no go for prop load. That happens at T-minus 1 hour and 15 minutes. We've been loading fuel and locks on board the ship since about 53 minutes before launch. Booster started just about 10 minutes after that. We continue loading prop until just around 3 minutes before liftoff. And then at that point, we'll be ready to go. So bottom line at the moment, we're looking real good. Again, 6:23 and 41 seconds Central Time is our target T0. So we're going to keep counting down.
Sounds like great news so far. Thank you, Dan. And we do say it repeatedly because it's important to understand, but these flight tests are all about the data. Data helps us build and fly faster until we're eventually ready to fly people and cargo at scale to Mars. That is our foundational mission and basically just the major inspiration for our work here every day.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Amanda. And our first missions to the Red Planet are just down the road, and we recently shared some exciting news. Starship cargo flights to the Martian surface for research, development, and exploratory missions begin in 2030, and we already have our first customer.
Yeah, exactly. Starship is open for business, and one of the first payloads will be provided by the Italian Space Agency. They recently signed a first-of-its-kind agreement to carry Italian experiments on the initial Starship missions that deliver customer payloads to Mars. In related news, Starship cargo flights to the surface of the Moon for research, development, and exploratory missions will start in 2028. So a ton of Starship activity to look forward to, and if you'd like to learn more about our mission to making humanity multiplanetary, go ahead and visit spacex.com/Mars. Okay, now as we get closer to launch, development continues down here at Starbase, Texas, to shape this growing city into a truly unique place to live and work. And part of being a city, particularly one surrounded by nature, is environmental stewardship. The nearby Boca Beach dunes have unfortunately been eroding at an alarming rate for some time, so SpaceX is teaming up with Cameron County and the city of Starbase to stop that erosion and hopefully preserve the beach for years to come.
Yeah, and as one of its first permanent residents and someone who's actually called Starbase home for over 3 years now, I can tell you the beach totally adds to the uniqueness and awesomeness of living here. Starbase is truly unlike any other place on Earth. You know, where else can you see the world's biggest rocket every single day?
Yeah, Starbase is definitely the place to be, and we're always looking for more people to come help build the future of spaceflight.
Yeah, particularly engineers, especially for our propulsion and mechanical system teams.
You could be working on tests just like these ones, proving out the designs of our next generation Super Heavy booster. Fun fact, we actually tested the booster to 13,400 tons of thrust, which is more than the power of 3.5 Saturn V rockets, which is just crazy. We're also looking for civil and structural engineers to help literally build the future.
Whether it's buildings like the Gigabays currently going up at both Starbase and the Cape, each is a massive vertical integration and assembly facility with over 700,000 square feet of workspace. Both sites are currently in progress, actually going vertical as we speak. Or you could be designing the Starship launch sites of the future. There's really no shortage of future to build here. So visit spacex.com/careers to see all of our openings if you're interested.
Okay, now as we head into terminal count, all eyes are on the rocket. Dan, how are we looking? Are we green?
Amanda, we are so green. Everything's still looking really good. So we've got a green range, not tracking any blockers there to launch. We're continuing to load prop on board the vehicle. We're just about to close out. So we'll close out, again, just about 3 minutes and 20 seconds before liftoff. We'll close out on ship and then booster just about 30 seconds later. And then you end up with about 11 million pounds of liquid propellant on board those two stages. After we're fully loaded on the vehicle, the pad itself gets ready for launch. We do what's called pushbacks. We clear all that prop out of the lines in the tower and the feed system back into the tanks to get ready for launch. And then in the next couple of minutes, we're going to do our final GNC guidance, navigation, and control system alignment. We're going to arm the automatic flight safety system, and then we're going to do final kind of wiggle checks on the steering for the engines, which we might be able to catch a quick peek at as we get closer to those. If we need to hold, which we are not currently tracking a reason to, that would happen at T-minus 40 seconds. It's built into our countdown. We can pause and wait there for any final checkouts, anything that we need to hold for.
Once we pass that T-minus 40 seconds, a number of events will occur in rapid succession. The ground spin and ignition systems come up to flight pressure, and ship switches to internal power. After that, the quick disconnect arm lockout is removed in preparation for retraction shortly after T0. Now, once we pass T-minus 40 seconds, if any problems come up, we do still have the ability to recycle the count under certain conditions back to T-minus 40 seconds and hold there to assess what happened and then see if we can proceed again to liftoff.
Yep. However, once the water for the deflector system begins flowing at T-minus 10 seconds, any issue after that would be an automatic scrub for the day, as teams would need to refill the deflector's water tanks as well as the propellant storage tanks at the tank farm before making another attempt.
All right, we are coming up on 3 minutes away from launch. You can see the frost line all the way up. We've just closed out prop load onto the ship. Booster coming up shortly. Yeah, in about 10 seconds, we'll finish loading prop on the booster, and then again, we'll have about 11 million pounds of that liquid oxygen, liquid methane on board the vehicles. Not currently tracking a reason to hold at T-minus 40. It can pop up at the last moment or after we pass that gate. We can always hang out there for a couple of minutes if we need to. We do have some extra time. We're not constantly topping off the propellant in these vehicles, so we have about a 7-8 minute window where we can wait for any final issues to clear. We're not currently tracking a reason to hold there. Again, our range continues to be green as we look at sea and airspace, both out over the Gulf and in our reentry zone out in the Indian Ocean. All right, 2 minutes, 15 seconds to go. A lot of things on tap for Flight 11. Planned to be the last launch of this version of Starship and Super Heavy. Once again, we're really focused on getting ship over to reentry. Once we get to that phase, we're going to dive in. There's a lot of exciting stuff that's going to be happening on our way back through and down to the ground, hopefully out in the Indian Ocean. Minute 45. Should hopefully be seeing. There's a quick wiggle check. Checking out the thrust vector control, the steering on the booster. We use those inner 13 engines. Doing their fun final dance before the big show. And we'll do that one more time after we cross that T-minus 40 gate. All right, range continues to be green. Still not tracking any issues on vehicle or pad. 1 minute to go. As a reminder, we can hold at T-minus 40. We're not planning to. All right. We're through T-minus 40. Let's listen in. Flight Director Ty Huntington back in the seat. Take us through the final
Flight
seconds
Directors, go for launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Go Super Heavy. Go Starship. Thanks for all the historic flights, Pad 1.
vehicles catch you downrange. Booster Raptor chamber pressure nominal.
Booster and ship, nominal power and telemetry.
All right, we are about 45 seconds into flight. We're still getting the rattle here at Star Factory. We are seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor engines lit on Super Heavy as it arcs across the Gulf. Coming up next on Max Q.
Max Q.
So at this point, we've passed through that period of maximum aerodynamic pressure. The next thing we're looking forward to is going to be hot staging. So we've got 33 out of 33 Raptors lit. Super Heavy makes its way uphill. Hot staging is going to be coming up in just a little over a minute. At that point, we're going to see all but 3 of those Raptor engines on Super Heavy shut down. Our version of Miko. Most engines cut off instead of main engine. And then after that, we're going to release the clamps that are currently holding Starship to that hot stage adapter. It's then going to ignite its 6 Raptor engines to push it away from Super Heavy and then start making its flight uphill. So in about 30 seconds, we're going to see the engines start to shut down on Super Heavy. You'll see them kind of shut off in separate banks until we've just got those 3 center engines that never stop running for this process, and then looking for 6 ship Raptors. All right. Miko coming up in about 10 seconds. See the engines throttling down.
Booster engine cut off.
Yeah. Ship ignition. Stage separation.
Use back burn startup.
All right, successful hot staging maneuver. So we've got 12 of the 13 engines lit back up on boosters, so it's doing its boost back. Real excitingly, though, we've got 6 out of 6 Raptors lit on ship there, so it's now going to continue to make its ascent into outer space. Meanwhile, this boost back is happening. We're using those 13 engines, so everything, well, 12 out of the 13, and then we go down to 3, and then we're going to shut down for the end of boost back. That's sending Super Heavy back towards its planned splashdown zone in the Gulf. Right after we finish this boost back burn, we're also going to separate the hot stage. This will be the final time that we're doing this. Is right, there's the end of the boost back burn. Should be seeing the hot stage. There. So the hot stage separates. It's going to make its way down, also splash down in the Gulf. In the meantime, though, these 6 ship Raptors are going to continue firing for about 5 more minutes. Next up for the booster, though, is going to be its landing burn. There's a cool tracking shot. We dumped some of the prop out on our way back in. All right, so for booster, this is one of the main things we're trying to get is going to be this landing burn. Oh, that's so you can see the hot stage kind of making its way towards the left side. So that's the bottom of the booster. It's about to pass right in front of where you can see some of that prop dump happening. They look like they're close together, but there's a good amount of distance between them, and the hot stage will go down and splash down in the Gulf while the booster comes back for its landing burn.
Starship is on nominal trajectory.
All right. Looking good on our trajectory, looking good on everything. Jake and Amanda, you guys with me down there?
Yeah, definitely. The crowd is gathering over here in the office. You can definitely feel the energy in here. Great to see that Booster is making its way down to the splashdown zone in the Gulf.
Yeah, the shaking down here was absolutely nuts. The windows are still there, still intact. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, Booster's coming down. We're at about 30 kilometers. All right, yeah, and as we approach that landing, just like tower catches, we will be doing a 13-engine landing burn to slow down. This time it will be in a V3 configuration. And as we're starting to get into the denser part of the atmosphere, the booster is using 4 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through atmospheric entry towards its landing site.
And we're just about 20 seconds away from landing burn start, where we'll first ignite the center 13 engines, then bring that down to 5 to slow down the booster for landing. And finally, that will come down to 3, and we'll cut all of them off while we're still about 200 meters in the air. So booster is going to see a bit of a part of it.
Booster landing burn shutdown.
And there we heard a booster landing burn shutdown. We saw a 13 to 5 to 3 V3 demonstration, and into the water we go. Wow, that was absolutely awesome. If you can even hear us right now, congrats to the whole SpaceX team. So far, so good for today. That was incredible.
All right, great stuff, guys. I'm jealous of the crowd. All right, back to ship. Ship's still making its way. We've got a little under 2 minutes left in this descent burn, so we've got all 6 Raptor engines still firing. So the next major milestone we're going to be looking for is Seco,
15,000 kilometers per hour.
Cutoff. That's should be coming right at about 8 minutes and 58 seconds into flight, so we've got about 1:20 still to go. Really cool to see Booster go through that
Really cool.
that landing burn. That was one of our really key demonstrations we wanted to try and do today. Is that's mimicking what we're going to be hopefully doing. Oh, we just got our sonic boom. Sounds like from the booster coming back. All right, less than a minute to go. So we are going to see the 3 RVACs, the vacuum optimized engines, shut down first, and then we'll shut down those 3 center engines. So we should be a little under a minute until Seco. Just a reminder, this is putting us into a suborbital trajectory, so we're intentionally just going slow enough that we're not going to achieve full orbit. This puts us on a course where those engines shut off, and no matter what, we're coming back.
Starship is in terminal guidance.
In the Indian Ocean. All right, terminal guidance. So we should start seeing the shutdown come up in just a couple seconds. Less than 30 seconds to go in this ship ascent burn.
Angela time? Seems unavoidable. Angela.
All right, our vacs have shut off.
Tortured poet wanderer, female legend.
3 more to go.
You guys want to know how they fell in love? He went through my purse. What?
Ship engine cut off.
Girls, trust us. It was very fast. So it was due from
All right, all ship Raptors have shut
Nominal
down.
orbit insertion.
You just heard nominal orbital insertion, so we are on the path that we wanted to be. So we've got a ship back in space, a whole lot planned for it, lots more still to come. Great seeing Super Heavy make its way to the water, but I'm excited to see what ship can do in space. How's everybody doing down there?
Yeah, if you could hear the crowd behind us this whole time, people are definitely happy with how the day's been panning out so far. Definitely exciting to see Starship safely in space, and super pumped to see all the team's hard work in action here today.
Yeah, and we guaranteed it at the start of the show, but it has been an awesome day so far. It's crazy. All this has happened in just 10 minutes. All the objectives were met on the booster, including that V3 style landing burn. So now all eyes are on the ship as we get ready for our in-space objectives. But we've got a few minutes until that next milestone, so sit tight, enjoy the views, enjoy the space jams. We'll be back at T plus 16 minutes for payload deploy.
Time for the beer. There we go. Keep that maybe. So what now? Is it just gonna stay there and rotate? Pretty cool. I like that the 3 Russians disliked it. And a pretty big day though. 20 of the hostages were released, which was awesome. 20 of the living hostages. Now they have to find the bodies of the other 28. They might have found some of them, but not all of them. They're missing some people. But big day for Israel, big day for Starship. For SpaceX, for the Starship here. It's actually pretty cool to watch. Haven't gotten to catch one for a while. Usually try to watch their launches. And then there's drama that I wanted to get into about Hassan and Asmongold. Technically Asmongold and some chick Valkyrie. I don't know who she is, so I've never watched her, but she's a streamer, I guess, and I wanted to watch that and see what's going on there, or how Asmongold reacted. I assume he just kind of blew it off in a way, but and all kinds of crazy crap on arguing with a Canadian about American politics. What a joke. Just like people that don't vote. I don't argue with them about politics either. It's pointless. They don't get a say. They chose not to vote. You don't like any of the candidates, write yourself in. Or write somebody in that you think can do it. Low IQ people. Like I said, a lot of goldfish in the world. Some with even lower IQs than goldfish, I fear. And that was cool. Let's that I should post on X that I have gotten live on. Got distracted. I do have to go to the bathroom, so that will be fun on right back. Might have to also grab the baby on my way back, so we'll see.
He a politician, he passing bills that bring chaos and division. Yeah, the devil lives in California, should be in prison. He got horns, but he tries to keep them hidden, cause the devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that, they say that. They love America, we know it ain't that. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it, we ain't switching, y'all are tripping. I guess God just spelled us different, dog. The devil is a Democrat, that's a... He a...
That Arizona sky burning in your eyes. You look at
Sorry. Go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And then we'll grab the baby. If she wants to grab. You want to be grabbed? You know, miss? Need a blanket for the win. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. All right, that was cool. Cool launch. Oh gosh.
I'm well aware that
Tommy
this is an
Chang
old
is
episode
very,
of the Joe
very
Rogan
dumb.
Experience. Yet,
He
Joe
has
Rogan's
smoked his
guest
brains
has
out.
shown a
That is
level
for
of
sure.
ignorance. I just couldn't help myself. Buckle up. Hey, noble ones, welcome back to my channel.
Not
This is
that
the
Joe
Today
Rogan
I would
is
like to talk about something I've seen and heard.
anti-gun
on
at
the
all. Joe Rogan is
Now,
pro
I've sort of provided commentary in
or
several
hunting
Joe
and
Rogan
stuff like
Experience,
that.
and sometimes some of his guests haven't been the best, and other times they were great. But Tommy Chong wins.
I
the
haven't
case.
watched Joe
He
Rogan for a
says
while.
Gun owners
For a couple
aren't
years,
very
actually.
Intelligent. Now, I would like to know why he says that. Let's see how he defends this logically. So normally I try to let people speak a little longer, but this is a Joe Rogan Experience and I would like to not get copy claimed, so I'm going to have to interrupt him a little more often than usual. I apologize profusely if that annoys you.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
It's perceived
Probably
anyways.
still get copyrighted claim though.
Anybody with a gun. That's the whole thing. You know, if you have a gun, you're not very intelligent.
Why's that?
Because you're paranoid.
You're not paranoid.
If you have a gun, you're not intelligent because you're paranoid?
All right, let's get started. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Let me do a mini comeback to that. Guys, if you wear a seatbelt when you drive, you're not very intelligent because you're paranoid.
Yeah, you're paranoid. You're gonna wreck. That's
Not
exactly
starting
right.
strong.
Having a gun means that you're afraid that someone's going to come and attack you.
Yeah,
No.
such a paranoid thing. It's just happening every 70 hours.
Although crime is really high right now, I agree. Most people should have guns to protect themselves.
And so that having a gun is like they want to arm teachers, for instance.
That seems
Why not?
That is so stupid.
You said crazy. He said stupid. I don't know, man. With what's happening in the schools. Or if you don't
No,
wanna
I think
go
you
that
should
route,
arm
then you're
principals
gonna
and
put
vice
some
principals.
security, armed
Or
security. in
security,
the
yeah.
schools. How about that one?
It is so dumb.
Right.
Yeah, it's so dumb, the idea to be able to stop a mass shooter before he claims more victims, which is exactly what law
Because you're not going to be able to
enforcement
change
does.
the crazy
Like the
people's
shooter that
minds. They
just
already
went to
have
the
it in
Mormon
them.
Church, they were there in
They're already
27
crazy.
seconds and ended his life 8 minutes after he started shooting. If they hadn't done that, he would have continued to shoot. Yet they neutralized. That's what it's called. It's called neutralizing the threat. And to do it, you need firearms.
Yep.
Just like the ones
You ain't
that
throwing
knew-
pencils or
no,
chalk at them.
it's like the cops that didn't go into the school. They knew the guy's got a AK. They're not going to go into that school with their little
AK-47, is that what
they
it's talking
did.
about, or was it an AR?
Just
pistols.
AR-15.
And so they didn't go into the school. And the ones that rushed the guy, they ended up dying.
Right. So, my gosh, the lack
Another
of
stop.
logics
Dumb
is
take.
unbelievable. Let me get this straight.
He has literally
So you're
smoked
saying
his
that
brains
if
out
you only
to
have a
like
pistol,
any
you
like
only have a
critical
gun,
thinking
handgun, I
whatsoever,
guess he means because they're all guns,
other
whatever.
than
If you
leftist
ever have-
talking points.
But the mass shooter has an AK or a whatever, automatic or semi-automatic rifle, whatever you're trying to say. Is
All
stupid
semi-automatic
because
usually.
You can't take him down because he's got a bigger gun than you. Apart
No,
from the fact
you-
that,
you- that's
there's
stupid.
also
A
your
bullet
aiming
is a bullet.
skill, so there is that. And you're a really good shot, and you can do double tap center and mass, or at this point, mag dump center and mass. But regardless of that, whatever. What he's saying is moronic on multiple levels because one, it makes it sound like, oh, okay, so you're saying that if I only have a handgun, then I can't take someone with an AK, which means, so you want me to have a bigger gun? It's like, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But of course, I
Yeah,
know
he needs
that's
a
not what it
bazooka to
means.
take
So
on an
let's
AR.
instead deconstruct what he's
Stupid,
trying to say.
stupid
What he's trying to
conversation.
say is, well, even if you have a gun for personal protection, the mass shooter is a bigger gun, and so it's pointless. Okay, but at least you have a shot, because if you don't have
Yeah, you have a better fighting
what are you
chance
gonna do?
than
Cut out
not
the
having
chocolate
one.
to death? Now, at that point, you're just a target, and probably 40 of you will go down. But if there are 3, 4, 5 who do have a gun, and they all shoot at the shooter, yeah, maybe 1 will still go down, 2 will still go down, but then the shooter is dead, which
Yep.
prevents him from doing... Do you see how this is so... Like, at this point, I'm not even
Because he's
discussing
already
Second
attempting to do as
Amendment
much
rights. I'm
damage.
not even discussing whether you're pro-gun, against gun, you want more control. Like, this is all beyond... We're just looking at the... I'm just testing the
How idiotic
logics
the...
of his
Yeah.
argument. And the
How
logics
idiotic the
break
argument is.
down.
So what I'm saying is that if you have a gun and you
Love me
think
some
you need
meta.
a gun for your house for whatever, if you think you have something that's worth someone else's life, then you are ignorant.
Yeah, my family.
Gosh, this is getting worse. Okay, what's his name again? Tommy? Tom. I do have something that is worth taking someone else's life, meaning the assailant, the invader. It's called my family. This is not about someone is trying to get my Amiga 500 copy original of Flashback. If you have a little daughter and a beautiful wife and a gorgeous son, and someone is, and then again, home invasions are very rare, I'd like to point out, and usually they happen when people are on a holiday, if you look at the actual statistics, but they do still
Because
happen.
people are idiots and announce when they go on vacation and take pictures proving their way and then announce it to everybody on Facebook.
The back door unlocked.
That's how places get robbed so easily.
Went in, the alarm was
They
not on,
scout out
they
places
left
on
the
Facebook.
bedroom door open, and so they entered with an axe and they cut to pieces the mum and wounded the little child. She could have the gun, that they had an axe.
Look at that dude that just got released from jail. That killed that kid with a knife. I don't know that family had a gun. Maybe they did. It was locked up somewhere, but like a gun could have completely changed that situation. That little boy could be alive if that father or mother had used a gun on that assailant that stabbed the entire family.
Are you telling me that protecting and saving my loved ones, if you have a little daughter and a son, they're not worth, no, I'm going to have to let an assailant enter my home and say, well, I don't want to take their lives, so please do whatever you want with my children and family. You're out of your mind.
Don't necessarily think that's what they think. They don't think that the gun is worth someone else's life. They think they don't want to get their life taken by a home invasion, which does happen.
Did you see that video of the guy
Well, he
that
changed his
had a raccoon
topic.
on his boat?
So how can you know when you play video games like Mass Effect, for instance, and then after you give the wrong answer, your relationship status with the interlocutor goes down, like -20 is written in red, and then you get, this is what's happening with me, with this guy, -100 every sentence. Joe just gave him an excellent response, counter-argument, if you will, and he
doesn't even acknowledge it.
changed the topic.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because he didn't have, it was a good point, and his logics are faulty, and so he couldn't defend his argument.
No, he
Not only
can't.
that's a cowardly thing to do, but also it's disrespectful towards the host. I would never do that. Doesn't matter that it is Joe Rogan, by the way, with millions and millions of subscribers. If anyone invites me and they have 1,000 subscribers, but they are the host and they ask me a question, I will dignify them with either answering the question, or if it's a topic that I don't feel comfortable with, I will
you don't know.
I'll say, look, I appreciate that, but this is a line of questioning that I don't feel comfortable talking about. But I would never do this because it's highly disrespectful. How this man can do it on a place such as Joe Rogan, and I don't know.
That's because he's probably Joe Rogan's hero.
I imagine. So is he? If he's also been, not that he needs it, he's rich, and that's another point. All of this thing he's saying about how stupid you are because you want to defend your family in the event of a home invasion, he says while he lives in a multi-million villa in California.
Yeah, that probably has armed gunmen in
What
gated
about people that
community.
live in the freaking ghettos?
Or armed
What about those?
security at the
It
front
makes my
gate
blood boil.
that the community lives in.
He had a raccoon on his boat.
Yeah. He saw
a pet raccoon?
It was a wild raccoon, and he filmed it. And he's 20 miles out in the sea, and he sees this raccoon, and so he filmed himself kicking the raccoon off the boat.
Into the ocean?
Into the ocean.
Aww.
He filmed it. And then he posted it because he had no idea how ignorant that was. He had no idea.
What was the raccoon?
So that was the connection. Stand the ground, castle doctrine.
Raccoon dangerous? Was it trying to bite? Raccoons will fuck you up. They will fuck you up.
Sure, but like the wildlife guys said, just get a blanket, throw it over, and put him in the bathroom until you get close to
if
shore.
you're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But this guy right away, he freaked it out. And he's like, this is my boat, get off my boat.
Terrible way
Get
for
off
a
my
raccoon
boat.
to die, too.
Well, see, that's a form of ignorance. that I'm talking about.
It's also just fear.
It's not.
It's fear.
Yeah.
That's what fear is. Fear is ignorance.
Right.
No,
But
it's
if
not.
someone has a gun in their house to protect themselves from home invasions do happen.
Yeah.
And people have saved their family with guns.
Yes.
That's a real
But
thing.
you don't read about that much.
Oh, you read about it plenty if you go look.
You don't read.
If you look for it,
because you already have a preconceived
you're looking
idea,
for
therefore you're not
your own
interested in what
ideas
the
to
data
back up your
actually says.
ideologies.
So never mind doing a comprehensive.
You don't care to
analysis
look
or
at
make up-
alternatives.
I mean, at this point, if you think it's boring, watch true crime. How about that? There is a Ewu, Explore with Us. There's plenty of those. Go check them out.
Looking for it.
Really?
Yeah, there's
Someone
plenty of
come in the
stories.
house, yeah.
If you look at the overall, they have like a pie chart of gun violence in this country, and an unfortunately large number is suicides. When they start talking about how many people have died,
Well, yeah.
unfortunately, large number is suicide by gun. And I feel like if people are going to just kill themselves with a gun, they probably kill themselves with pills or anything else that they have.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And then there's justifiable homicides, but they had that as well, right?
Look, the
and then
people that
there's
went crazy with this whole
homicides
Tylenol thing,
by the
being
police.
pregnant.
There's people.
Rumors
that are
of a lady taking too
protecting
much and
their
putting
house. There's a
herself
bunch of different-
basically
there's gang violence. There's a bunch of different things that get lumped in when we
brain
talk about
failure
gun
because
violence, but a
she
certain
took too much
percentage of them
Tylenol
are people that are
just to
protecting
prove
their
a point.
house or their
Stupid
family
people.
from someone who's trying to hurt them.
A lot of
I
stupid
got
people out there.
I'm in business with a ex pilot from Vietnam, and I'm quite sure he has a sidearm in his house.
Yeah.
But it would be useless because it's so locked away and so hidden by the time anything happened. But
Oh yeah, finally a good point. Yeah, if you have a firearm for personal protection, it needs to be loaded at all times. It needs to be loaded. People that say no, unload it, keep the magazine out. That's nonsense. A firearm needs to be loaded, and then it shouldn't be locked up. It should be, if you have children, it should absolutely be outside the reach of those children, like absolutely outside the reach of those children. This is not even questionable. But no, you shouldn't lock it up. It should be in a position where you, as the adult, can reach it as quickly as possible in the event of an invasion. So maybe near where you sleep.
the time he got to that gun and got it loaded and found the ammunition and everything else.
No, that's not. Why do people who know nothing? I know
He doesn't know anything.
and I'm an Italian. I know this. This pointless to anyone who this is like basic. This is like never point a firearm to yourself basic. This is trigger discipline basic. This is keep it well maintained basic. Oh my gosh, why do people... And he talks about ignorance. He's calling other people ignorant. And he says this about firearms for personal protection inside the household. Apparently by someone who is a professional in the military. This friend, right? So he thinks that a professional keeps a firearm unloaded and locked up.
People.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe he could keep it right by his bed.
Yep.
No,
And then
but
if someone
I'm saying
broke into his house, that wouldn't
in
be
this
the case.
in this one instance. And then what if it's your daughter or something coming
Big
in
what
late
ifs.
at night and you mistake her for?
Well, you open your mouth and you say something.
Yeah.
You know, just go
Possibly.
shooting into the dark.
Or what if
Yeah, you gotta have eyes on target.
Your daughter
He-
is
he's
not
so
gonna
a
break
what
your
if.
window and trigger the
Yeah.
alarm system.
Homicidal,
You know, just go
possibly.
shooting into the dark.
Or what
Yeah,
if
you
have
don't-
homicidal tendencies and you've been wanting... See, one thing I learned about guns, because I grew up with guns too. I grew up
Stupid.
in the country.
No, you didn't.
Where'd you grow up?
Apparently.
In Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. You're Canadian.
Yeah.
That
They have guns in
explains it.
Canada.
Okay, and now
yeah.
I understand what this is all about. Fantastic. Okay, everything explained. Now we know. Look at that face.
He's thinking muskets or
Look at
something.
that grin. See that? That's an American right there. This is an American, ladies and gentlemen. And you know exactly what he's thinking, because I know it. Because I'm married to an American. I know it. That explains everything. Okay, thank you. What's next? To shoot them in the leg? Is that the next thing he's going to say?
Probably.
This is the next thing he's going to say, isn't it?
Crazy.
And so guns
Yeah.
were...
Did you ever think about moving back up there?
Oh no, I lived up there.
Oh no.
I lived up
Oh,
there.
no.
No, LA is where you want to be.
LA,
But
yeah.
No.
I do want to be. talking about yourself.
Well, with
No,
guns,
thank you. Would never want to be an LA.
Right. You know, like especially when the hawks are coming down to get your chickens, or
Oh yeah, so no, this is beautiful. Oh, this is beautiful. So if the hawks are coming down to get your chicken, you defend those chicken. You stand the ground, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely. But if someone comes into your house because they want to grape your 10-year-old daughter and murder your wife in front of you, what are you talking about? Is there something in your house that is more worthwhile than the assailant's life? You need a pistol. No, you don't. But for the chicken, don't you fuck with my chicken. Fuck with my chicken. He's going to declare war, nuclear war, if he mess with his chicken.
Stuff like that. But I seen the gun culture in Calgary, and it turned me off because I seen kids, they would take a stray dog and bring him up to the field and tie him to a tree or something, or a post, and then shoot him.
Oh, jeez.
And that's disgusting.
Yeah,
Problem is,
it is.
The brains of those, is it kids? He said kids, I don't know. I guess kids could be in the 20s in comparison. But if someone does that, they will do the same with a knife. They will do the same with a machete. They will do the same. They will do the same kind of torture. It's not the gun in that case. It's the mind
it's the person
of these individuals, because they have no respect for life. It's disgusting. I mean, to me, I love my dogs. My dogs are my children, and they are so innocent. They are gorgeous, gorgeous creatures. And something like that is objectively morally wrong, regardless of what type of morality or base, like at a psychological and philosophical level, or based on your morality you
mentally ill people.
You can all recognize, no, that's wrong. And but that doesn't have to do with gun culture. That has to do with these people were sick in the head.
Shoot them. That is sport. You know, and they couldn't, because here's the thing about guns. I went duck hunting with my brother one time, and in the field, and he got bored waiting for the ducks to come, and so here comes what do you call it?
Is that your phone?
Yeah.
What do you call it?
It's okay.
Duck hunt, guys.
It's your wrist.
It's out there.
It's your wrist.
Together with Super Mario 1, it was a fantastic bundle, and I do understand. That game pissed me off, particularly when the dog would laugh at me.
Wrist is ringing.
He turned it off. No, we went duck hunting, and we're waiting there for hours for the ducks to come over. And my brother, he got bored, and there's a muskrat swimming across the thing, so he shot it with a shotgun. And he walks out into the middle of the slough, picks up the muskrat as the ducks flew over top of us. Just stupidity, man.
Well, that's definitely stupid. But
sure, it is stupid. But then we enter the discussion of hunting.
I mean, this isn't.
I don't hunt.
Yeah, this isn't the same thing.
He's a really good hunter. And, but I mean, I don't feel like I'm in a position, even though I don't hunt because I don't like the deer. When I look at a deer, it looks cute to me. With that being said, I would be a hypocrite if I told my father-in-law, for instance, oh, what you're doing is immoral, because I just ordered a McDonald's burger. No, it was Burger King, I think it was. So, I mean, there's that.
There's responsible gun owners, don't you think?
Stupidity, man.
Well, that's definitely stupid. But there's responsible gun owners.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Well, as they are, like I was in Army cadets, and when we had practice, I'm a sharpshooter, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
I don't
okay. Not one bit.
Some, what do you call it, patches, sharpshooter.
They hand those out for passing your rifle.
I know how to
your rifle course.
Rifle, anyway. But when we go shooting, we would have to, first of all, we never got the weapon. And until we marched down into firing position, then we were handed the weapon and one bullet. And then we put the bullet in, shoot the target, had another bullet, shoot the target. And then when we were finished, we had to pick up all our casings and give them back. And if anything was missing, no one left until they found that missing bullet. And
casing.
Whatever.
It's gun safety.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
From us.
That's just cleaning up after you're shooting.
Sounds like Canada, yeah. So when it comes to gun safety, what does that have to do with a weapon that is, what is it, bolt action? With a weapon that you're going to put one by one? Okay. I don't understand that. So what are you saying? What's the connection? What's the logical connection? Really struggling here with his logics. So let me get this.
He's not making a logical point. He's just talking in circles.
A semi-automatic with a
Most people.
15-round magazine plus one in the chamber. What am I supposed to do? Just put the one in the chamber, and then the rest needs to be empty, and then I need to open it every time and put it in, right?
Some people are just really good at talking.
Put it back round in the
Not
chamber.
that they bring any
choose,
benefit
then
from what
open
they're
it, put it
talking
back.
about. Just really good at talking. I can't stand Tommy Joe. All right, let's see.
There's been
Hasn's
even
situation.
more drama that's happened today, which I thought this shit was funny. I'm laying on the sofa. I'm laying on the sofa at 3 in the morning, and I'm seeing people messaging me like, oh, there's this thing that happened, like, oh, like Ludwig has reacted or spoke. No, did you see how Ludwig talked about it? He probably didn't do anything, right? Ludwig probably did like Ludwig did probably the thing that Ludwig does. He says, damn, that's crazy. Anyway, back to making money. Let me guess, that's what he did, right? I'm just gonna take a guess. Am I right? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That's right. He's a smart guy. He's a very smart guy. I like Ludwig a lot. I think he's a great guy. And so, yeah, he's smart.
What did you
moguled out. Yeah, he's moguled out of his mind, guys.
Wow.
Yeah,
the
and
floor.
that's it. And I just think it's.
Why
it's
you wanna
smart.
hold me?
He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't want to get involved in it. He just wants to make money, making content, and that's it. Not everybody has to have an opinion about every social event
What are you
and every
finding out?
drama that happens on the internet. Not everybody has to do this. You don't need to have an opinion on everything. Okay? I know people might want it.
are
People
you
might
finding
need it,
out?
but you don't. And if you don't care, and obviously, by the way, Ludwig cares.
Are you
He
going to
has an
bed soon?
opinion, okay? He does.
You're climbing?
It's not like one of these people that actually doesn't care. You wouldn't have made a drama channel where you farm other people's drama for 3 years. You remember that? And get a degree in journalism. Remember that? And so you would not have done all of these things if you didn't care about this stuff. You'd be talking about it if you could, but you know it's bad for business, and you just don't do it.
No,
That's
it's
a
okay. You
smart
paper towel?
idea. I don't think that's bad at all. I don't criticize that. I don't complain about that.
What do you want to
I
watch
don't
on my
think it's an
phone?
issue. But yes, there it is. He
You
doesn't
wanna
want
watch
Hassan's
Caleb?
fans to attack him. Yeah, but if
I
he,
might have
the
Caleb
thing
on my
is that
phone.
if he defends Hassan, then he'll have people that maybe are my fans that attack him, right? Or Tectone fans, or people that just think that Hassan did something to the dog. I mean, like, it's a lose-lose situation. Yeah, you lose by playing. Like, there are a lot of games that you lose by playing. There is no right side. Absence of opinion is an opinion? Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is. But, like, the opinion
Don't
is I don't
hurt
want to
my
get involved. Like, that's the reason, right? And, yeah, it's that simple. And Destiny 2, yeah, I guess so.
What are you hiding,
And
Mama?
well, I'll talk about
You
the
gotta come
Pokemon
and
thing.
put me to bed.
So basically,
It's
this has
gay.
been like this one happened this morning, which is why I want to talk about it. So, Pokimane and Lily Pichu canceled their podcast
Eli, no yelling, please.
episode release featuring Hassan, and so I guess Pokimane and Lily Pichu had a podcast, and
Yeah, I'm working on it.
people. I did not know this, and I don't mean I'm not trying to be diminutive or something like that. I just was not aware of this. But anyway, they had a podcast, and
no yelling,
they had
please.
Hassan on the podcast, right? And so, small update. Hey, Taste Buds. I'm assuming this is the podcast is called Sweet and Sour, and I'm assuming Taste Buds is a play on
Okay,
that,
stop.
and it's like it's the name of their fans. I'm just, this is what I learned in honors English class in high school. Okay, is how to use these things and to figure out context clues. All right, and so
Right,
anyway,
okay, your snack.
this is a tough one to write. Yeah, think about this. This is a tough one to write, but we wanted to give you all a heads up that we're unfortunately going to be
Yes.
missing our first scheduled
Be
Saturday
careful,
video
please.
tomorrow. We've been watching the recent
You
drama
knocked it over.
unfold concerning our guest. And it's been getting intense. We had a
Wild
serious
child.
talk as a crew, and we all agreed that it did not feel right uploading tomorrow's episode at this moment in time. Our community is our favorite thing, and the reason we do this is to create a space that is comfy as always and a true escape. We do not want to impact the cozy atmosphere that we've all built together. Thanks for always supporting our vision for a fun, positive place to hang out. See you all next week, sweet and sour Steph. So basically, they didn't want to have Hassan on the show because of the dog thing, right? I mean, you know it, I know it, everybody knows it. But here's what I think is funny. It gets better, okay? You think, okay, all right, yeah, that makes sense, right? It gets better. So Pokimane comes out and tweets and says the episode was supposed to air as usual, but staff refused to upload it out of fear it had caused drama and posted this statement without my approval. Sad face. Sorry, guys. We'll talk about everything on this week's episode and go on hiatus afterwards to restructure. Now, let me go ahead. You guys like translation? I'm going to do a little bit of corporate Rosetta Stone, okay? I'm going to give you... I am the corporate Rosetta Stone, okay?
Restructure equals chop
Okay, there it is. Okay, so what does this mean? All right? People don't know what does restructure mean.
Uh-huh.
Okay? That's it. That's what it means.
You no longer have a job.
I know it. Everybody knows it. That's the way it goes. It's a firing. The firings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah.
Look at the top comment. She got absolutely roasted. Well, I'll go back and I'll see if I can find it. And I'll see what
they're
she
all
says about
protecting
it.
this
But
animal
anyway,
user.
so I think that I really feel bad for the staff.
so
I
much
do.
stuff underneath.
I feel bad for the staff, and I'll explain why I feel bad for the staff, okay? Throwing your staff under the bus instead of disavowing animal abuse is definitely something I'd expect from you. People are not happy about this hiatus to restructure. Bro tased his dog repeatedly. Lamau, you don't need to go on a spiritual awakening journey. How can I make this about me? Imagine firing your staff because they don't like puppy torture. So everybody has an opinion on this. People are generally mad at her for saying this and doing this. I think that, see, this is Pokimane's mistake. She should have messaged me like Ray did, and I would have told her how to handle this. And it would have been fine. It would have been. See, and this is the problem. Because you could have done this in the right way. You really could have. Because really, she should have just asked me, and I'd have been able to deal with this. It'd have been no problem, right? But sometimes people don't want to do that. And right through the about no, but like if Ray's mistake, I'll get to that. But I'll say it right now. Ray's mistake is she should have messaged me twice. She should have asked me what she should do, and she also should have asked me should she say that she asked me. And I'd have told her nothing both times. That she should have asked me if she should have told people that she asked me. I would have said, don't tell people that. I was surprised she said it. Y'all know I never said that shit about her because I knew people would react that way. They get mad as fuck. And so, absolutely. So the only
I was wondering when the Ray thing would come up.
The thing is, like, exactly. And so, yeah, she should just ask me about it. I was surprised. Somebody said there was a clip of her talking about me. I read it the first time in chat. I didn't say it out loud because I was like, there's no way she'd say that because then her audience would get mad. And then I opened up LSF and it's there and I said, shit. Oh, boy. That poor girl. But anyway, I get to that. Give me a few minutes, right? But I get back around that. But that's true. Yeah, exactly. It is a bit of a self-report. You don't care about getting backstabbed? Not really. I don't really like. The thing is that I am the only virtuous person left in the world.
Not in the world, but on Twitch maybe.
I have to.
One of the large streamers on Twitch that is virtuous.
And dignity that transcends mortal desires and the most humble. So no, I don't give a shit. If you want me to be honest, I didn't even watch the clip. I was busy. I was doing other stuff. I didn't even watch it. Yeah, like I didn't even think about this shit. And so anyway, that's it. Why bother? Yeah, bro. Like it's me, right? I mean, it's always gonna be me, and that's it. And so I don't take anything personally, but I'll get around to that. Okay, I'll get around to that and talk about that. But before I do, I'm gonna get to this. So Pokimane, this is what she should have done. She should, because this is an issue, right? And I think that it's a lack of.
They're all Hassan orders.
And I'll explain the reason why I say that. The reason why I say that is because I think that she should understand that while she has a big fan base and a lot of people are fans of her and they're going to defend her, and she's got a lot of people that like her, a lot of her staff don't have that. And so what happens is that the staff are now getting attacked on social media. People are being hostile to them. Somebody sends in a mean message to the Patreon of this, of this thing, and or to the YouTube channel. You want to know who's going to read that? It's going to be the staff that are going to read that. So if I was her and I saw that my staff had put out a statement like this, I will be honest, it would fucking annoy me. It would make me mad. It would piss me the fuck off,
Then you
because
have a conversation behind the scenes about
they
it.
said this, and they should have talked to me ahead of time. I'd be fucking mad. But what I would have done is I would have said, listen, I understand that a lot of you guys like Hassan, but there's a lot of people that don't like him right now, and I don't want to put my staff in a situation where they could be caught in the crossfire between my friendship with somebody else and internet drama. And that, at that point, would have, it would have exonerated the staff. They would have not gotten attacked because, again, you're trying to protect them from things.
Now they're definitely getting attacked.
Like something bad happening to them, right? Because I view, this is the way I see a lot of things, right? Is that, whenever you have people that are working for you in a way, and I don't mean this in a degrading way, but, they're your flock in a way, right? You're the shepherd. You have to lead them in the right position. You have to take care of them. You have to help them, and you have to do your best to do what is in their best interest and to help them and to do what the right thing is for them. Because in the same way that they serve you, they have put their faith in you for you to also serve them. And so whenever I see somebody throw an employee under the bus, there have been issues. I will tell you this, okay? There have been a number of issues where people have had problems, and I have been of the opinion that the other person was wrong and not me. I'm not going to make it any more specific than that because I don't want anybody to even begin to start guessing. But it's happened. It's happened multiple times. It's happened many times. And you don't know a single one of them. And you never will. And the reason why is because, and in the instances that it did happen and people talked about it, I've always taken the blame. I've taken the blame because at the end of the day, the fact is that, you are the leader, and as the leader, you have to take accountability. You make the most money, you take the most accountability. If it comes time to fall on your sword, it has to be you. And for better or for worse, that's the responsibility of a leader. And I'm not perfect. Everybody's made mistakes. But to throw the staff under the bus and to say that, oh, well, they did this without our consent and they didn't do this, I think this basically makes them, it effectively makes them homeless. Because, and I don't mean the fact that they're inevitably probably going to get fired or at least chewed out by this. But what I do mean is that now they've already positioned themselves against the Hassan fan base. And now the Hassan fan base will dislike them. And they're also going to get hate because they were associated with Pokimane now, who is, okay with doing it. So you're effectively having everybody attack you now. And as an individual that's just an employee in the space, right? I'm not talking about a creator, but an employee in the space, that is tremendously overwhelming. And I try to avoid letting any of that happen. Here's a good example of this. Have you ever noticed that I never even discuss who my editors are? I never discuss anything about that at all. And I often say that I don't really, my mods, I don't help my mods at all, because I don't want anybody to ever think that and that's the reason, right? And that there's a reason for this. And I do all of this. There are many things that I do that people might not notice that are intentional in order to make sure that other people are not caught as collateral damage. And also, if it comes a time where, it's either I look bad or somebody else does, I usually take the responsibility because I'm the person who's generally, in charge of things, right? And so, and any of my mods can confirm this, except for maybe two of them that might be mad about something. But, we'll see what happens. And anyway, you should write a streamer handbook. I don't need to write a streamer handbook. Every leadership handbook in the last 1,000 years that's been written says the same things that I'm saying right now. If you go back and you listen to, a fucking general in the army in World War I, he probably said some variation of this. If you go back and you look at, the people that were sieging Constantinople, they were probably saying some variation of this. This is something that is timeless. It's not new. It's not invented by me. This has been going on forever. You just look at the way it is, right? Rule by fear or respect. Well, that's Machiavelli, but it's fear or love. But yes. Anyway, I can go back and talk about that more. But my point is that I feel bad for the staff. I really do, because Pokey kind of threw them under the bus. And, I get that they did something wrong, but from her perspective, I think that she's not being empathetic of the type of collateral damage that, they're going to be subject to whenever they get attacked for being on a podcast with Hassan, when Hassan is in the middle of a lot of really big drama. So basically, for her, it doesn't probably seem like a big deal because, well, it's not happening to her. But for them, I think it's going to be very unpleasant and very stressful. And I don't really think it's fair. And I think that, again, she should just ask. Next time, Pokey can just ask me. And you don't have to tell people, by the way. Actually, it's in fact, I learned yesterday, it's in fact better not to. You don't have to tell people, but just ask me. I'll deal with it. I'll take care of it for you. Yeah, I'll tell you what to do. It's all right. But, because you don't want to have a situation like this happen again, right? I mean, it's not good for anybody. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. And I'll read a few more of these comments here and look at it. And do you think she talked to them first before making this post, or just made the post before confronting them? I don't know. Probably she just made the post, but who knows? I can't read minds in that regard. I don't think they did anything wrong, because I think she lied. Read my message, please. I don't know what she did. I mean, I can't know this for sure one way or another. And speaking of Constantinople, made a Byzantine Assassin's Creed Constantinople. Well, Constantinople, I think, was held by the Holy Roman Empire, by the last emperor, the Constantine. And the Byzantine Empire rose after the Holy Roman Empire fell. So the Byzantine Empire doesn't really have anything to do with Constantinople. That's my understanding. Am I wrong about that? Yeah, that's what I thought. But I could have gotten it wrong. It was Byzantine? Was it really? Yeah, is that it? I got it confused? I'd have to go back. And, anyway, that's not even close, bro. Well, I probably got it confused then. Well, anyway, my point is that I remember it the wrong way. Maybe I probably just read it the wrong way. But, anyway, so, was it, not Holy Roman, only Roman Empire? Yeah, maybe it might have been, but that was what I thought it was. I could be wrong. My point is anyway that all this stuff that happens and everything, it is kind of it's kind of disappointing for me to see it happen for some of these people. But yeah. And you're close but wrong. That's the way it is, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened in history. I can't get them all right. But anyway, so that's generally what I think about this, right? And yeah, it's disappointing to see this happen. And I think also, I mean, if I read some of the comments on this, we're going to go back and look down on this. And let's see here. And basically, everybody is hating her, right? Like, everybody is mad. Staff getting fired for not supporting animal abuse. Like, literally, I don't see a single person who's supporting her. And honestly, I mean, this is, again, like, I would feel bad for her, but you did throw your staff under the bus. You did. And you could say they threw you under the bus or they didn't communicate with you, but you don't have the same position that they do. And so you have to be empathetic and see it from another person's point of view. And, then it really makes a little bit more sense, right? And so, yeah, that's it. What drives you to be a helper of people that talk behind your back? The fact that I know that none of their words will ever truly affect me, and I know that I will be successful regardless of anybody else's approval or disapproval, and I just simply do things because I can, and I don't need to worry about the approval or opinions of other people. That's the reason why. So I help them because I can, because they ask. That's all there is to it. Like, yeah, that's it. Don't need a reason. Yeah, I mean, that's really the way it is. And so, like, that's really it. Do streamers really have beef with each other? How much of it is an act? Well, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know what people are actually thinking. It's hard. I can never read minds, right? But it does seem like this right here is, you know, you have a lot of people. Nobody is happy about this. Girl, you need a new staff. They shouldn't be making statements about you or Lily's approval of permission. The best way, it's you guys who are incorrectly receiving backlash for their statements. Yeah, but what do you think happens what do you think happens whenever you upload a video of a person who's being accused of like a, you know, like ongoing animal abuse thing, right? Like the staff are going to get tons of harassment, like infinitely more. So yeah, that's basically it. And so anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the way that I feel about it. I feel bad for the staff, and you know, again, that's really all there is to it. And I get why she would be frustrated about this, but at the same time, I think that you know, it's kind of unfair, right? You're not all in this together. Her position as an individual is very different than other people's, and so that's really it. One job offer.
Yeah, I've never really liked
exactly,
her.
right? And how long do you think a Collargate is going to last? I think that with something like this, it'll probably transform into something else, if I had to guess. So right now, it's one thing, and I think over time, it will probably evolve into being something else. So it's not that big of a deal, and, you know, like, maybe people not care that much about it, but then it will probably, you know, exacerbate into something else. So anyway,
it always compounds.
let me go back over. Yeah, hopefully it ends when Hassan quits. Well, I don't think Hassan's going to quit. I'm sorry to say, guys. I don't think so. So, yes, this happened earlier today. That's my opinion on it.
Even though
And
no
there
one
it is.
well,
And so,
I guess he does
anyway,
have some
another
type of
one. So,
following,
Valkyrie
but that is
apologizes
stupid.
to her community for DMing Asmongold. My fault for not being aware enough. Probably so hurtful and jarring. I think everyone, including myself, should be more aware of what's going on in the world. I'm not aware enough. I hear you guys. So she went out and she said this about me, obviously. Like, she basically apologized for messaging me, right? That's pretty much what it was. And I think that, honestly, the biggest mistake that she made is that she didn't message me twice. I
Should have messaged.
Because
Shoulda
she should have
re-messaged
messaged
Asmon.
me and asked if she should have told the community that she messaged me.
She shouldn't
If she
have.
had done that, I'd have told her no. I would have. I think this is an own goal for her. It definitely is. And so anyway, and the thing is that, listen, her community, everybody, see, like, I don't view streaming, like, I'm friendly with people in streaming, but I don't confuse myself and delude myself into thinking that a lot of people will not, obviously.
Yeah,
I would never
they're
want and
gonna
expect a person
trust you
to, like, you know,
or
put their
trust them.
career at risk or to do something that would be bad for their community just for my ego or to make me look good, right? And so, like, I don't take this personally. I don't get upset about this. It doesn't bother me. I'm not mad about it, etc. And so that's really it. Tectone predicted you would have said something like this. Well, I don't know if he did or not. I'd have to go back
Yeah,
and
he
look. I
did.
can look at it after this.
He
But,
absolutely
yeah,
predicted
I'm not
that he
mad
would say
about
something
this.
like
I
this.
don't really care. I think that it's funny, if you want me to be honest. Not in a way that I'm laughing at her misfortune, but in a way that it's just like, man, what a ridiculous situation, isn't it? So, but it doesn't put you off. It seems really inauthentic. Well, it doesn't seem inauthentic because it might seem inauthentic to you because you're not looking at it through the correct lens. So for me, it doesn't seem inauthentic because these people are primarily they're streamers because it's their job. So why would I get mad at somebody doing something that's in the best interest of their career? Why would I do that? So really, I mean, am I going to expect somebody to, you know, like, fall on their sword for some other opinion that I have? Absolutely not. So anybody can say anything that they want about me, and it doesn't really matter to me. I don't give a shit, right? It doesn't matter to me at all. And so that's it. And obviously, look at her VOD viewership, huge dip. Well, I don't know if people saw it or not. I have no idea. But it got 2.6 million views. And I didn't read a single positive comment. And obviously, like, yeah, she needs to set herself free from the mind prison that's progressive audience capture. It was hurtful if those fans are hurt by you speaking to someone that they invariably were going to leave for another dumb reason. So tell them to fuck off and the cool ones will stay. Probably true. I think that's accurate. And also, here's another component to this as well, is that I think that that type of audience capture does happen, but it can always be scary to move away from it or try to change what you're doing because you never know what's going to happen. So, yeah, that's it. Streaming shit is optics. It's all optics. It always is, and it always will be. People will always roach out on you. Everybody will always betray you. Do you remember Judas sold Jesus out? Like, I mean, you really think about this. Jesus, at worst, was at least a wizard, right? Like, this is, like, at his very, very lowest power level,
Crazy
he was at
take.
least a wizard.
Jesus was
And
at least a
Judas
wizard.
went
And
and
Judas sold him out.
For about $7,000.
Asmon and his crazy take.
Now, would you make an enemy with a wizard for $7,000? I would not. Fuck, I wouldn't even make an enemy of a magician for $7,000. You never know what's going to
Jesus,
happen.
at his lowest power level, was a wizard. He still got sold out by Judas.
I thought that the reason why she mentioned that she talked to me was so she could posture
sorcery,
that basically
dispels
she
magic,
was willing
yada,
to look
yada.
at the other side of the Collargate situation and try to reach across the aisle and effectively try to offer a degree of diplomacy that, it's not like I hate all these people.
It was just
that I talk
it caught me off guard
because it's not like this evil thing, right? And so I actually thought that this was maybe that was like her strategy with doing it, right? It's like kind of saying like, well, I even talked to people that, might be perceived as being against this, and this is what I said I should do. So this is what I would do, right? So it basically adds veracity to what she was saying. Like, I thought that was the logic behind it. And like, I looked at it from that perspective because that's the way that I would have done it, right? Because that's what would make sense. So, yeah. I apologize for talking to a person. Well, because her community hates me, right? I mean, that's obviously the reason why. And so, yeah, it's pretty fucking obvious. And so, anyway, bro thought that was logic. I do. I reason everything out. I reason everything out, and most things people do for a reason. And so that's really it. Can you play the video? No, I don't need to. I never watched it. I don't care. And the reason why is that I don't need to have a clip of everybody shitting on her and getting mad at her for saying this. It's not a big deal to me. I know that, for somebody like her and for a lot of other people, the amount of hate and harassment and stuff like that you get for being inside of this space is tremendous. And it is overwhelming for a lot of people, even larger creators, because I think that, like, again, people might not realize, like, across all the YouTube channels that I have, at least, right? I mean, we're getting like 200-300 million views a month, right? And that's just including on YouTube, right? That's not even on Twitch and other places too. There's a lot of people that watch the content, and there's a lot of people that are engaged. And because of that, I know that, if I talk about something or whatever, there will be a degree of collateral damage. There will be. And I don't really care necessarily, but I also only really apply that whenever I think a person is acting truly in bad faith. And whenever I see a person acting in their own best interest, I almost never fault people for acting in their own best interest. This might be, confusing to you, but I almost never do. And if you think about it, whenever I see a person doing what they think is best for them, I don't usually get offended by it because I understand why people do that, because people are animals, and animals have evolved for millions of years through natural selection with the desire to survive, right? And so, like, yeah, it's not personal, it's just business. Yes, it is. And so that's really about all there is to it. You're a better person than me. What would it take for you to completely cut someone out of your life? I mean, I don't really have, I don't make distinctions like that ever, really. I don't think about that a whole lot. I just simply live every day the way that I want to live it, and that's about it. I don't really think about all of these, grand proclamations. I don't think about, like large sweeping statements. I don't need to do that. I just simply make the decision that I think is the right decision for the right time, and that's all that I need to do. And so that's it. Someone yelling at you. I don't like people yelling at me. I don't. But yeah, I think generally if somebody does yell at me, I will probably cut them off. I don't like being yelled at. But that's also another, it's like if somebody hits me in the face, I probably wouldn't want to deal with them either, right? And so that's really all there is to it. And you're giving too much grace to these people, it's going to bite you in the ass someday. You can't just ignore it, take the high road. Well, I mean, I don't always take the high road, do I?
No.
I don't always take the high road. There are a lot of times where I take the low road. I like taking the low road. But I restrain myself and I don't do it all the time because I don't have to. And that's the reason why I don't have to do it. And it's easier. Yeah, exactly. And so let's, and also, like, I don't need to because everybody else is mad at her too. Like, I mean, if I read a lot of these comments, I mean, this is the, you know, it's everybody is mad about this. Literally everybody is pissed off. Like, I don't see a single positive comment about this. Even the retweets, if I look at all of this stuff here, and yeah, make apologies videos, DMing somebody. It's even obviously Destiny has, you know, weighed in on the situation, and it's just the same type of thing that you'll always see. And if I go back over here and if I look, somebody said Tectone said something about me about this. Let me see what he said. Asmon will go live tomorrow, see Valkyrie throwing him under the bus and say, it's okay, understand why she had to do this, it's not a big deal. As he always says, yes, exactly. Tectone knows me, like, I mean, I'm friends with him, and so, like, it would be, yeah, of course. Of course, that's what I would do. Yeah, because I know the way that people behave, I know how people act, it is what it is, right? And so it's just that simple. So yeah, Colorgate's making his streamers uncomfortable because they did past collabs with Hassan. No, anyone with Hassan is putting pressure on them. That's why streamers like Pokey are wanting for the drama to go away. I think that a lot of them, I do think that, I will say that there is definitely, like, with streaming, there are a lot of, like, very toxic cliques. And you guys might not notice this. Well, I guess actually you probably do.
No, we do.
I'm not really friends with a lot of streamers. Like, I have friends that are, I do. Like, if I don't want to make a list because I'm worried that if I make a list, then I will come up with the first 5 people, okay? How about that? I'll come with the first 5 people that I would say I am 100% friends with. I would never even question. And these are people I've known a really long time.
We can
S-Fan, fucking, let's see, Tectone right there, McConnell, Train, I would say also maybe XQC, right? Like, these are people I've been friends with for, like, fucking 8-9 years. Like, yes, we've had, you know, rough roads over the years, but overall, these are my friends, right? And I could go forward, you know, with, and I again, I do not want to be going on. There are other people that you guys are naming. A lot of those people are also on the list, but I just don't want to name everybody, right? And that's it. That's just the first 5 that come to mind.
From using
and
super
so,
glue.
anyway,
Don't want to be scraping
the
that
point that
off
I'm making
again
about
for
this
the
is that
next hour after I cut it all out.
I'm not friends with a lot of streamers at all. I recognize that this is a business relationship, and I might be friendly with them privately, but I understand that whenever they have to behave in a professional manner, they have to act in a certain way. This is the way it is. That's life.
It's the way.
And I get that. And I don't go looking for, it's like looking for friends as a streamer with other streamers is pretty much the same thing as going to a strip club looking for a wife. I actually had a friend that did that. It ended up getting him in jail. And no, he doesn't have custody of the kid. So, yeah, bad idea, by the way. Bad idea, and you shouldn't do that. She hits him on the head with a glass. The police show up. Guess who's sitting in the back of the cop car? That's right. Yeah. I was going to say the name, but I'm not going to say the name. Being friends with, yes, being friendly with is another thing. Exactly. And that's all there is to it. Trump said, if you want friends in Washington, buy a dog. Yes, and so anyway, there are a lot of very toxic cliques with streaming, and they will defend each other regardless of what the facts are, regardless of anything, because they are friends, and they're just going to defend each other for that reason. A lot of these people, I think that for many of the, and I don't want to say everybody, right? But I think that for many of these people,
a large amount.
A lot of the social causes that they say that they support, etc., these are social accessories that they use to boost their image.
Yeah.
Many of these people will never express a viewpoint or an opinion without waiting for, you know, the mass consensus opinion.
Yeah, the numbers to come in to see who
might say
supports
something, and they might not even then. And the fact is that, again, you can't look at these people as like an authentic individual. You have to see them as a brand or a personality on the internet. It's like looking at Johnny Bravo or looking at Courage the Cowardly Dog. I think Courage the Cowardly Dog in a lot of cases is more accurate. And, you know, in some cases, actually, especially, should I make a sexual harassment Johnny Bravo joke? I guess I will. Johnny Bravo's been pretty accurate too recently, hasn't it? So anyway, and it's more accurate than you might imagine even. So yeah, actually, those are, it's funny now that I think about it. Those are really two great examples. They most of the time fall under one of those two, isn't it? Man, what are the odds? And so anyway, yeah, courage, exactly. And so that is sexual harassment Johnny Bravo. It's like looking at Johnny Bravo or looking at Courage the Cowardly Dog. I think Courage the Cowardly Dog in a lot of cases is more accurate. And, you know, in some cases, actually, especially, should I make a sexual harassment Johnny Bravo joke? I guess I will. Johnny Bravo's been pretty accurate too recently, hasn't it? So anyway, and it's more accurate than you might imagine even. So yeah, actually, those are, it's funny now that I think about it. Those are really two great examples. They most of the time fall under one of those two, isn't it? Man, what are the odds? And so anyway, yeah, courage, exactly. And so that's the reason, and that's the way that I feel about this stuff. You know, again, I'll look and I'll see if there's any more information about it on like LSF. But that's generally what I think. And you know, it's just that's the way that that's the way the internet is. And there's no reason really to get upset about it or anything else. So yeah, it feels less and less every day. The dog thing is actually shattering the ranks. Well, I mean, I think that what happens is that, so this is the problem, and this is the issue that I think the dog thing creates for a lot of the, you know, quote, safe space streamers, right? Is that a lot of the safe space streamers, their personality on stream is a performance. This isn't really how they act in real life. They do have opinions on things, but they pretend to be a very, very narrow version of themselves in order to make themselves more appealing for, let's say, brand deals, or make themselves more appealing for a certain type of audience, right? This is very, very common. And this is what, and that's fine, by the way, you too. I mean, I'm not doing a good job of it if I'm trying to do that. But
yeah,
that's the reason why people do it. And so, like with the dog thing, that happens is it puts them in a very bad position, because basically they have to either side with people who they have to position themselves against, people like me, for example, and even not even like me. I've reserved judgment with this for pretty much the entire time. I find it to be ironic that people get very mad at me. The only thing that I've really done for sure is laugh at a lot of the memes because they're fucking funny. But other than that, I haven't really been super opinionated about it, right? And if you look at Kai, yeah, Kai's a great example. Kai never talks about any drama. Kai never gets involved with any issues. Speed is the same way. And nobody hates them or what they people do. But nobody really gets super angry at them. There aren't like a lot of like big like groups of people that are like constantly trying to like, you know, have a hate mob about them. They just never talk about it, right? They just never get involved with it or talk about it or anything like that. And so Kai definitely gets into drama. I mean, not really though, right? I mean, like not what I'm talking about. So yeah. So you're saying they're just in it for the money?
Yeah.
Well, of course people stream for money. Like, there's nothing wrong with streaming for money. Why do you think it's bad that somebody is just in it for the money? Like, I don't even understand it. So do you think that everybody that's streaming on a regular basis, that's sitting in front of the computer all the time, they're doing it just because they love it? Yeah, I think a lot of people do like doing it, but they also are doing it for a job. The thing is that most people are not, like, if you go back and you look at videos of me whenever I was in high school. There are videos of me when I was in high school. I was a little kid, and I was doing, like, really, if you look back at me at 15 years old, I have really not changed. I really haven't. And it doesn't, like, yeah, that's the way it is. And naive chatter, exactly. And yeah, I've been the same the whole time. What about you? Yeah, I mean, but I mean, there are people that are like that, but it is the minority. And also, just because somebody doesn't want to, you know, broadcast their political opinions at their job, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're just doing it for the money. It means that there's a time and place for everything, and they might not be comfortable talking about that stuff. Like, a good example of this, even with me, is the recent government shutdown. Like, whenever the government shutdown started happening, I wasn't streaming at that time. time, and I was just simply sitting around jerking off and playing video games all day. So if you want the honest truth, I don't really know why the government shut down. I didn't pay attention to it because I didn't really care. I wasn't looking into it at all. And so really, why would I even, but I never came on, I didn't talk about it. I was like, yeah, I don't know, guys, it seems pretty crazy, right? And yeah, I don't know if it's Democrats or Republicans' fault. It's probably both their fault to an extent, but who knows? And so that's it. Money is the goal. Staying true to self isn't. Exactly. Yeah, it is. And what if Pokemon did decide to postpone it, but the backlash from a Sans fan so she made the staff take the blame? That's a big accusation. I wouldn't say that about her. That's pretty unfair. Like again, maybe that's what happened, but I wouldn't say that. That's very big.
Speculate that.
So
but
yeah,
again,
that's about it. And
anyway,
so that's the way that I feel about it. That's where things have been for me. And yeah, I think that again, a lot of people hold streamers to extremely high standards, and it's very unhealthy. I think that people are extremely parasocial in a lot of regards. They want streamers to have all of the same opinions that they have, reinforce all of their beliefs and all of their feelings. I think that this is an unhealthy desire. And while everybody is free to feel and do what they want to do and feel, I also think that it's something that very obviously is not something that is it's not healthy, right? It's very obviously not healthy. And so that's really about it. And I don't think anybody should do that. And she could have uploaded the episode literally now, but she's not because it was her decision or with the agreement. So you think that because she didn't upload the episode, then it means that she's throwing them under the bus and she actually made the decision? That is, I mean, like, to be fair, that is good logic. Like, I mean, I'm not saying
you should have uploaded it or forced them to upload it.
The logic for that tracks.
Yeah.
It does. Like it or hate it, cry or get mad or anything else, it's still true. Yeah, absolutely. And so she's shifting blame to her staff. Yeah, maybe, but it's very likely, but not definite. I would never say she did that, though. I mean, if fans want to say that or viewers want to say that, that's fine. But, as a streamer, I wouldn't feel comfortable pushing that type of a message unless I was certain of it, which I'm not. But I am certain to say that that is logically, sound. It's logically sound thinking. So, yeah, but it was a good point. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, that's about it. But Vindication, streamers out of touch is crazy. Hopefully more and more communities be aware of this. Well, I think that more and more communities, and what I found to be very interesting is even with the Valkyrie thing, a lot of people here were even like, they were even kind of on my side about this, right? I mean, I thought this was kind of interesting, right? That never happens. It basically never happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's actually good strategy, playing the staff.
I avoid Reddit, though.
Personally. Yeah, I mean, let's see. That non-binary, is this going to be male or female? Yeah, I mean, Nurgle's acolyte has spoken. All hail Nurgle and his wisdom. I don't get why people obsess over gender identity, because people want everybody to acknowledge it. That's the reason why. Says the guy who is 50% cockroach and 50% Neanderthal. Man. Yeah, that's about right, huh? And I don't know what to say. And people getting offended over asthma again, quite shocking. Not quite as shocked as a Sans dog. Yeah, only a Sith deals in absolutes. Well, I guess God is a Sith. And by the way, I didn't deal in absolutes. I said that there were exceptions and there were medical anomalies. So, I that's why I'm, of course, a Jedi. And everybody that's against me is a Sith, clearly. But didn't Neanderthals have larger brains? Well, a whale has a larger brain than a human, but that doesn't mean a whale is smarter than a human.
I don't know. I think a whale is smarter than some humans.
Not necessarily. It doesn't work necessarily that way. So, yeah, I don't think that the brain size is the only way that you can judge intelligence. No. But anyway, so true. Yes, how do you know? I saw it on 1920s logic. Like, I saw it on Reddit 11 years ago, and I was like, damn, that's crazy. Whales' brains are really big. And that was about it. Bigger doesn't mean better. Well, there are a couple of things that is true with, specifically a couple. But, other than that, yeah, I think it's generally true. But, yeah, you can see the entire, and I think this is a bit of a Reddit awakening for a lot of people, because a lot of these Redditors, I think, were under the false delusion that many of these streamers and creators and things, like they had a very different impression of them than the way they actually are. And I think this is a good thing. It's a good thing for people to effectively realize that, you know, break the parasocial bonds, watch streams for entertainment, enjoy what you're seeing, enjoy what you're watching, don't get emotionally connected, don't get mad. When a streamer starts saying something that makes you mad, you need to turn it off. You just turn it off. Just stop looking at it. Oh man, I keep doing the thing that makes me mad. Well, stop it. Stop doing it. But
hitting yourself in the
that's
face.
generally the way that I feel with a lot of these people, and so I don't really hold it against them. I don't really, you know, I'm not really angry at them. I'm not mad at them. I don't really care. It's not a big deal to me, if you want me to be honest. I don't really think about it a lot. So, you know, I've got a lot of other things to think about and make decisions on. And if you want me to be, you know, this is like maybe an ego thing. But those things are pretty important in a lot of cases. They're, you know, in some cases,
Here, super kid.
multi-million-dollar decisions.
Watch out, Hakeem.
Actually, in almost all cases, they are.
We have
and so I'm not really going to get
super
myself
bats or
worked
super
up
dinos.
about a person saying that I'm mean. Just not going to worry about it.
Here, come back here. Give me a hug.
You know, and that's really the truth.
Give me a hug.
You know, that's the actual reason. And so
Love.
that's really it.
Love you.
And,
See you in the morning, buddy.
Let's talk about video games, bro. Fuck the haters. Well, we're gonna get around to that, right? I mean, today's been a pretty interesting day, but that's been about it.
You caught him. You caught the dino. Gabe got him caught. You're dizzy.
I think I was going to tip over.
Oh gosh. I don't know that I want to get into whatever.
Dada, look at me.
Whoa. You can take some whoa. You can take some pretty big steps.
Caught. I got him. Whale.
Is that a mill? Yeah. Oh no. He out of the group hates him. Who's this person? Oh. Their own glasses. When did those come back in? First drop. That's a month ago, but next has another video. Then maybe we'll play some Final Fantasy 10 or Call of Duty. I'm not sure yet. Oh, yeah.
This was from his podcast a day ago. Everyone's talking about it. So we're going to watch the clip, and then we're going to look at some context. All right, but first and foremost, you have to understand something. He's criticizing Trump's immigration policies because Trump is deporting poor families. Oh, the horror of deporting people that invaded our country illegally. Now, you might know me as the guy with overwhelming empathy. If you did somehow get that impression, That is the wrong impression. Empathy is a scam. It is a new world order word developed by feminists to make you feel for things that, honestly, you shouldn't necessarily feel for. I have sympathy, but I don't have empathy for these guys. So,
let's just talk about the immigration thing.
Let's
the
talk.
way it looks is horrific.
All right, so it looks bad the way that people are getting
Oh no,
All
look
right.
bad.
When you're just arresting people in front of their kids,
Stop
and
running from
just
cops.
normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
Except, A, it's
Then
not normal
don't
regular people
run.
that have been here for 20 years. It's illegal invaders that have invaded into our
If
country.
you're legal,
That
do
if
not
they've
run.
been here for 20 years,
Whatever.
that means they've had 20 years to integrate into society.
What happened to him? Where is he? Oh, the super villain. I thought you were going up to bed. His mom out in the kitchen. She is in the kitchen. I was wondering who Diva was talking to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still weird.
It looks like a priest collar.
It does.
I think so. I think he's dressing up as a priest for Halloween. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Oh, yeah. Bad guy's gold?
Yeah.
You found a pirate gold?
Yeah.
We did. But if you want to give me more hugs, you can. This is in your hands. Okay, ready?
Now.
Love you.
I love that.
Doodle. Oh no, what happened to him? He put it in Mama's pocket. Alright, sleepers, go to bed. Oh no. Oh, she's still hungry? I might have to watch that one later. They're live streaming. But anyway, back to
Get
Knox's
some
video.
form or level of legality in the country, and they didn't. And also, ripping people away from their kids is like the emotional, hyper-feminized, cringe, emotional rage bait bullshit that is unbelievably fraudulent. Anytime someone commits a crime and they go to jail, it doesn't matter if it's in front of their kids. All right, if a dude
No,
robs a
it doesn't.
convenience store and you arrest the guy, it doesn't matter if he has kids. If someone's driving drunk
Very
and
based.
with a kid in the car, you arrest the guy and you separate him from his kids. Separating from kids is not an actual argument.
No.
Otherwise, you are a
Doesn't
Hamas
appeal to
terrorist
emotions.
using human shields.
Yeah.
Where you can commit crimes, but it's okay because you have a baby strapped to you, so therefore not going to treat you under the law. So immediately the premise is absolute feminized garbage. Don't worry, I'm going to get to all my conspiracy theories how he got there, because I have a take that a lot of people are going to be upset to hear. And I'm more
I
or
don't know
less
about
like
a
Joe
lot.
Rogan. This is a
Yeah.
huge bitch move, and I'll give you all of the lore. This is going to be a massive video for the record, because a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
haven't watched Joe
podcasters
for a
are flipping
while.
on Trump for things that
He hasn't been
essentially
interviewing
promised
anybody good other than like Wes Huff
and I
was the
will
last
get to
interview I
why.
really
Could be
watched.
foreign money, perhaps. Could be threats on their life, perhaps. Lock in, because we're doing the deep dive that I
Tried
really wish
watching
other
him. I
people
just can't follow him anymore.
But hey,
Like,
I am the
my
media
brain's
now, so I
not
guess we gotta
working
do
that
so.
way
All
to
right,
follow
so
him.
let's debunk this fraud.
Follow
every
like
step of
any
the
of
way.
these YouTube
Sorry,
videos,
just lost
really.
a couple of Joe Rogan fans, but I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to tell the truth and kick ass.
That everybody who has a
try to
heart
focus on what
can't
I
get
can.
along with that.
Yeah, I feel really bad when people that are criminals get the laws enforced, but unfortunately, that's how society works. Or fortunately, rather, that's how society should work.
Fortunately, yeah.
So stop doing the bullshit grandstanding. Everyone with a heart would hate watching criminals get punished. No, actually, we need law and order, because if you don't have law and order, then you end up falling into chaos and anarchy. Do you understand
Very
the
true.
level of honestly pathetic, hyper-feminized, emotional garbage spewing from this guy's mouth right now. And again, this is coming from me, a guy that more or less likes Joe Rogan. I think he's like, you know, he's the voice of the everyman, and I think it's really valuable to have people like him in society. I think the everyman is being manipulated by the media to think that this is a really horrible thing, that you're actually enforcing laws. It really isn't. This is actually how society literally needs to
The
run.
media, Antifa,
Why would I arrest the
Soros,
pedophile
all
if the
those other
pedophile's child would be
theories.
separated from his parent? Well, with all due respect,
I can't wait till information actually comes out on what's happening behind the scenes.
So no, I'm sorry.
To make people think that breaking laws is okay.
That's why 92.5% of judges were male in the history of the Bible, because honestly, this is like the emotional
Women are so
bullshit
easily
that I really have
corrupted.
absolutely zero interest in.
Ow. Everybody who has a heart sees that and go, that can't be right. That can't be
Or
right.
they
That can't be
fall
the-
for
I
the
have a heart,
emotional
a big heart.
appeal.
I love my family. I do my best to support my community. I give 20% of my income to charity. Get them out! Get them out! If they are illegal here, they need to leave. All right? Breaking into a country, not legal. What should the punishment be?
Yeah.
Removing the guy from the country. He could take his family with him. All right, I'm not separating them from their family. You could take your fucking
No,
family.
they
I
can
don't give
go
a shit.
together.
No, I'm not going to be girl bossed and gaslighted into making believe that it's bad to uphold the law. In the most basic and rudimentary forms of law, which is we don't actually want our country being overrun by illegal invaders. No, it's not fair to the citizens of the country, and it's not fair to people that want to immigrate legally. Remember, there's a legal immigration process, and these people are fucking it up for everyone. Dude, and I could list you issues with immigration, aside from, criminals and shit entering the country. They abuse our tax system, where our taxpayer dollars are going to fund emergency rooms that are just full of illegals, because illegal immigrants can't go to regular doctors, but they're going to get seen if they go to an emergency room. So they go to the emergency room, they get seen, and they leave. I made a tweet saying that anyone that goes to the emergency room, if they're an illegal immigrant, they should only get health care if they're also detained and immediately deported. And people were so fucking mad at me. The inhumanity. No, I'm sorry. They are literally tripling and quadrupling the waiting lines in the emergency room in California, where actual Californians can't get the medical care that they pay taxes for. No, sorry. Empathy to the cruel is cruelty to the innocent. And your gaslighting and girl bossing is not going to change my mind.
Empathy's not a thing.
The
It's
only way to do
sympathy.
this. Right. Because you have to think, look, yeah,
I
we
agree
have
with
to have
Charlie
a border.
Kirk.
Yes, it
Empathy
should
is
have been
impossible
secure.
to
Yes,
feel.
they
You
should
know,
make
feel what
sure
somebody
you
else
know
is
who
feeling.
everybody is before they get
Every
in.
situation
But
is different,
when people
no matter
been here
how
for 20
much you try to put
years,
yourself
We're
in
here
that
for 20 years and
situation.
they couldn't get legal paperwork. That sounds like a skill issue, man, and really not my problem. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand why this gets a pass but nothing else does. Okay, that's a lie. I do understand it. That this is epic foreshadowing. I do know why this is happening, and you're gonna have to wait for a little later in this video when I show you some mind-boggling receipts. But yeah, no, I do know why this is happening. Definitely subscribe. But no, I know the reality. I know the answer.
Definitely
anyway.
subscribe.
Come on, man. That's crazy.
No, it's
Like,
not.
let's find a way. If they've been productive
not really
members of
crazy.
society for 20
They couldn't get citizenship or legal papers.
Yeah.
They were productive members in society for 20
Not very
years,
productive
maybe,
if they can't
taking
apply.
American jobs, and not actually have any form of immigration status or asylum status or citizenship. Like, why? Why were they here for so long without any form of paperwork? Hold up. That sounds like a skill issue, man.
years, no.
I'm sorry if this sounds heartless, but there's a reason why we need rules and laws. And I absolutely 100% stand by this completely, without a shadow of a doubt.
Criminal record.
What do you need help with, Eli?
They paid
They broke into the country. That's a crime.
taxes.
For the record, a lot of them don't pay taxes, and they're not legal, so it's not like the IRS
Are you
is
stuck
gonna
in
know
the
about
baby
that.
crib?
For the record, in case you were curious, they
What are you stuck on? I know, I'm not getting out of the seat. I was just playing the game. No, I figured he was goofing. Oh, I made it. Silly boy.
they take and they're parasites on the system because they essentially take our taxpayer dollars and they don't actually need to put anything into the system depending on their work and their employment. which is again used to basically undercut Americans. Like, you don't even have to pay these people the minimum wage because according to the government, they don't even exist. So yeah, no, they don't pay taxes. You pay them less. You undercut the American worker. It's a strain. It's toxic on the system. And this is literally like the leftoid empathy for rocks and bugs instead of empathy for your neighbors.
Find them a pathway to citizenship. Find a way where
there is a pathway to citizenship that they should have done and been on for the last 20 years.
You can do this thing that you want to do, which is keep terrorists and cartel members from getting across the border with...
It's not just about criminals and cartel members. Obviously, that's the priority. But I'm going to tell you this right now. It is not about criminals.
Get in bed.
It is about basic border laws.
Go upstairs and get in bed.
Terrorist until way later. All right, let me give you a
Did you
hypothetical.
poop?
If Iran decides to move 100,000 Iranians into
Where do you
America,
normally get changed
there's no
at?
border, there's
Upstairs.
no way to deport these people, and then one day they get a
No,
invoice
you're-
from fucking Grand Mufti, the supreme leader of
Your
Iran,
baby-
saying, "Hey, let's start just killing
Your
Jews."
nighttime diapers are upstairs.
They're just gonna start killing Jews. That's the most basic example.
Go on,
but
up in the baby
also,
room.
The American country is built up of the American
Yeah,
people.
that's where you're
If
getting
you want
changed.
to replace the American people with people that
Go
are not
upstairs.
American people,
Do not make
who are
me
turning
count.
America into not America, which also matters. As
Love
racist
you, but
as
go.
that sounds, because I get people calling me racist on Twitter. I don't care what you call me. I really don't give a shit. All right, if you import the third
Well,
world,
grab that and go
become the third
upstairs.
world.
Drugs that kill 100,000 people a year. Okay.
Okay.
But also,
All right,
have a
that's bad.
fucking heart.
This is so frustrating. It's so frustrating. You're supposed to be independent media, Joe Rogan. You're not supposed to play by these fucking bullshit feminized word games. Yeah, 100,000 people die
Do
of
not
drugs,
make me
but have a
count.
heart. No, dude. Having a heart is making sure that there's no illegal immigration at all. Hence the term illegal. It's like saying have a heart for the poor people. Yeah, they're looting businesses. Yeah, they're robbing stores. Yeah, they're mugging people in the streets. But they're very poor. Have a heart. This is why you need law and order. And this is why the West, which is founded on biblical values, is explicit about punishments to crimes. It's not put everything into a sliding emotional scale and then decide subjectively whether you want to enforce the law or not if it passes your
No, the
emotional
law
heart
is
test.
the law.
Because if you don't, you're not going to get anybody on your side.
Period.
Oh, so it's optics. Oh, so you don't care. So you, benevolent Joe Rogan, don't actually give a shit about how heartless it is to deport people and separate them from their families. You just care about how heartless it looks because people won't be on your side. So you never cared about the reality. You only cared about the optics. It's pretty heartless if you ask me.
If you're doing this stuff publicly, throwing women to the ground, handcuffing people, just for existing on the wrong side of the dirt.
No, it's for invading a country illegally. It's not for existing. It's their existence is not the problem. It's the invasion that's the problem.
Not a criminal. Not
Yes, a criminal. If you break into a
illegal
country,
is a criminal.
you are a criminal.
No matter
That is
if
a
it's
crime.
a
You sound like Jasmine Crockett.
misdemeanor
the only
or
crime they ever
a
committed was coming
felony.
over here as a kid.
Again, they had years to become legal or to enter the proper channels.
They probably didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
And again, this is gaslighting because the reality is the majority of illegal immigrants are not kids. They're adults.
And if they were,
You know, a
they
lot of
were,
kids got snuck across.
You're right.
When they were already born in
That's
Mexico.
fucked
And
up.
they've grown up their entire life in America. They can't even
And they couldn't become a citizen or literally a legal immigrant or have some form of status.
speak Spanish. Let's just
Again-
talk.
Again, they were here their whole life. They couldn't figure something out. So anyway, anywho, obviously, every law enforced is going to hurt some people that are, let's say, in a tough situation. But that's why we have laws. That's why we have a legal system. It's like saying, why do you ever imprison criminals if some prisoners are falsely convicted? So we're not supposed to have prisons because some prisoners are falsely convicted? This is as heartless as it sounds.
you
The
just
reality is
try
you
to
want the
revamp
net
and get
biggest
as much
positive
evidence,
for your nation and your
possible.
people and your society when you enforce laws. And for the record,
To confirm
I
without
think this is a huge bitch
reasonable
clip of Joe
doubt.
Rogan. I'm not gonna lie, it really is. Now again, I'm getting to my theories as to how we got here and how we got to this point. But first, let me give you some lore. So the lore is, this is what Donald Trump literally ran on. This is from CPAC. This is before his election. This was, I'm pretty sure, in like March of last year. This was long before voting even started for
and he ran out
for the
deporting
presidency.
all
And
the
let's see what
illegals.
he literally ran his campaign on.
and they do come from prisons and mental institutions, and they are terrorists, and we're going to be paying a price, and it'll be the largest deportation in the history of our country, and we have no choice.
Yeah, the largest deportation in the history of the country. For the record, it's still not as big as Obama's, except Obama had the media on his side, so no one gave a shit. It's almost like it's purely manufactured outrage, as I will prove to you.
And it's not a nice thing to say, and I hate to
That's
say
right,
it.
that's right. If you have a heart, it must look bad.
And those clowns in the media will say, "Oh, he's so mean." He said, "No,
He's talking about you, Joe Rogan.
Our people, they're killing our country. They're killing our people. We have no."
He's completely right. They're killing our country. They're killing our people. Look, we have laws. We have borders. We need to enforce them. If you're illegal, you could leave. You could leave yourself. You won't even get deported. You could self-deport, and Trump will pay for your ticket. This worked. There were, by the way, this was the most self-deportations done this year in the history of America. And hey, more people could self-deport. If they're not willing to self-deport despite being illegal here, they might get thrown into alligator Alcatraz. And that's a skill issue, brother. So anyway, not to sound heartless, but that's life. He literally ran his campaign on the largest mass deportations in history. And you know who was there for him every step of the way? It was his good buddy Joseph Rogan. Here's Joe Rogan, 60 million views, podcast with Trump before Trump became president.
That was a huge
and now before
podcast.
I actually show you the deep lore, let me show you why this is affecting all of the retards today, but no one cared about Obama doing it, and it's purely because of the media.
And Theo Von being all girlish about it.
Behavior.
Gestapo are Nazi soldiers. So he's essentially saying that, not the Nazi police. He's saying that ICE officers literally doing the job as mandated by the majority of the American people, which is mass
Written into
deportations,
law by Congress.
that's Gestapo.
Plainclothes officers wearing masks.
Well, you know why they wear masks? It's because people threaten their lives and show up to their houses and threaten their families and attack them, right?
Are terrorizing immigrants. The ICE.
No, they are deporting illegals. But anyway, this is the messaging every single time.
Issue is alarming beyond words. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process.
They are actually not disappearing. They're getting deported. And there is due process. The due process is figuring out that they're not legal in the country. That's the due process, and then they go. That's what's happening. Yep, that's the Alien Enemies Act, and it's literally completely legal, and it's happening. There is due process. No, they don't get a jury trial, but we're not doing jury trials on, 30 million illegal invaders. We're not doing that shit. Absolutely not. So the due process is making sure that they are not legal in the country, and if that's the case, they can get the fuck out. They could have left themselves, and they didn't, and that sucks for them, honestly. They should have. So, yeah, no, you're not going to gaslight me into feeling bad about this. You're really not.
We're being hyperbolic.
Yeah, you are being hyperbolic.
Your black and brown community, it's here.
It's not about black and brown people. It's about illegals, and the evidence
Can't run a city, then got elected for governor, can't run a state. Now he's going to try to run for president. What a joke.
If all these guys are telling the truth, no due process, unmasked men,
Lost
unmarked
billions
cars,
of dollars in the state.
You would think it would have happened to one person that was legal in America. Not one person legal in America was deported. Not one out of the million deportations. Not one was legal in the country. Let that sink in. All right. And yes, it's all hyperbole.
Wake up.
Dangers that we saw in.
These are governors, by the way.
These are corrupt people.
Nazi Germany. Especially in the earliest days of Nazi Germany, are the dangers that we need to react to now. They're taking people off the streets and sending them away. It's a 5-alarm fire, everyone.
They are taking people that invaded our country illegally off the streets, and they are deporting them to their home countries. That's not a 5-alarm fire. That is
Not that
literally
Obama was more than $1. It was $1 and a nickel, maybe.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people.
Yeah, because people like you are literally calling them Nazi
The other half of the country is
last
trying
time
to
you
kill
called
him.
someone a Nazi fascist, he was shot in the neck and he bled out in front of his family, and then you all celebrated his death. So no, actually, I don't think they should be taking chances.
Will be unsuccessful in
family actually
doing
wasn't
that.
there,
It's not the
but-
1930s, and every single one of them, no
You
matter
saw
what it
on
takes, no matter how long it
media,
takes,
social
will of
media,
course be identified.
all over the internet for days.
Modern day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the
You
streets.
can't even
They're in
speak.
unmarked vans wearing masks,
Whoa,
being shipped
Same
what a
talking
joke.
points every fucking guy.
off to foreign torture dungeons.
Nope, they're being shipped off to their home countries, unless they're terrorists, in which case they're going to the El Salvador, CCOT prison. Based as fuck. I'm
or if you're Abrego Garcia and don't want to go to your home country, they're doing something and sending you to another country.
Defense, not even a chance to kiss the loved one goodbye.
They could have left themselves. First of all, they didn't need to be
They
here.
had the chance.
Second of all, if we would have had a border, they wouldn't have been able to be here. And third of all, they could have self-deported. No, this sounds like a skill issue, man.
Just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared.
They're not disappeared, they're deported.
To make sure that there's a firewall that they have to come through before they get to them.
Early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
Yeah, and then someone goes to ICE facilities and starts shooting at ICE agents with "fuck ICE" written on bullets, and you wonder how he got there. Well, thank you, media. Very cool. Now, no one cared when Obama was doing it. Now, make this clear. No one cared when Obama was doing it, and he was doing it on a higher level than even Trump. They only care that it's happening now because it's Trump derangement syndrome, because Trump bad, because Trump Nazi, because Trump Hitler, and ICE Nazi, and ICE Gestapo, as Tim Waltz said, as Tampon Tim said. So, anyway, that's why, because of the mounted pressure of all the media, right, you get your bleeding hearts out there like Joseph Rogan saying, wow, this is really horrible, all these horrible things that are happening.
I don't know Joe to be a bleeding heart, though.
I can't believe it. I can't believe this is happening. It's such a horrible thing, even though Trump literally promised to do it, and he's doing it, because the media decides to manipulate all of this shit. And I'll tell you one thing better. Keep in mind that podcasts blew up in popularity due to the lies of the mainstream media. Podcasts are inherently an anti-establishment medium, and therefore, podcasts hate being part of the establishment. Notice they're always anti-establishment. They promoted Trump because Trump was anti-establishment. Now that Trump is the establishment, now they have to be anti-establishment, because that's literally the entire grab. So they're following the media bullshit. They're anti-establishment, which now means anti-Trump, flipping this whole shit on its head. And they might be paid off by foreign countries, as we'll see epic foreshadowing for later in the video. So this is Joe Rogan tweeting the great and powerful Elon Musk. If it wasn't for him, we'd be fucked. He makes what I think is the most important, compelling case for Trump you'll hear. I agree with every step of the way. For the record, yes, that is an endorsement of Trump. That is an endorsement of Trump, says Joe Rogan.
I just received word about Joe Rogan's endorsement. He's a fantastic guy, and it's a great honor to receive it. Thank you, Joe, very much.
So Joe endorses Trump. Trump goes on Joe's podcast. Trump thanks Joe Rogan. Trump literally runs on the mandate of the largest mass deportation campaign in the history of America.
And it'll be the largest deportation in the history of our country.
And Joe Rogan is crying about literally the thing that Trump promised he'd do. El Bozo, your fault. Take the L, bald man. All right, I know the media is stressing you out, and there's probably another component to this, is that they're literally scared they're going to get murdered, like Charlie Kirk, if they're just labeled Nazis and fascists.
They're probably scared.
So between the
they don't want to have to pay for security.
On their back, the media manipulating people into thinking that this is some evil thing, honestly,
I don't care how in shape or how much of a jiu-jitsu guy you are, you're not fighting somebody that has a gun.
But first, I wanted to show you this clip, because I thought this was super telling as to what Joe Rogan has to think about families being separated. So this is Joe Rogan seemingly reacting to Tom Homan.
No. Pull that video up, because it's one of my favorite.
The recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their...
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Homan, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way.
Yeah, and literally everyone cheered when this happened. I remember Joe Rogan celebrated this when this happened. But now that it's actually happening and the media is doing their spin, talking about how everyone's a Nazi, and people are getting assassinated in the streets if you support ICE, essentially there's violence committed against anyone that supports ICE. Dude, I got death threats for supporting ICE, and I'm a blue retard on the internet. Imagine Joe Rogan, one of the most popular faces in America.
He's probably got billions of threats.
Afraid. But now let me introduce you to the next candidate of flakes. This is Theo Vaughn. As you can see, Theo Vaughn did a full podcast with Trump. He did a full podcast with Trump that ended up in his giant endorsement of Donald Trump. Based Donald instead of gay Kamala. What a huge W. Theo Vaughn was even pro-abortion. This is a clip that Theo Vaughn himself retweeted on Twitter, as far as I remember.
Heard you got deported, dude. Bye.
So Theo Von himself did this. This went viral. Everyone talked about it. Heard you got deported, dude. Bye. The honest, correct opinion. Sorry that happened to you. Oh well. Like, oh well. It sucks, man. Goodbye. It sucks. Sucks to hear, but goodbye. You know, what do you want to say? True. You broke into the country illegally. You leave. It's pretty simple, actually. So this was his take. And he endorsed Trump. So there's no reason why anything should change, right? Well, the Department of Homeland Security used this clip of Theo Von in one of their marketing campaigns.
Heard you got deported, dude. Bye.
Millions self-deported. Yeah, sorry, bitches, bros, and non-binary hoes. Get the fuck out of my country. Anyway, so this was posted on the actual Department of Homeland Security account, and Theo Von crashed out. Yo, Department of Homeland Security, I didn't approve to be used in this. I know you know my address, so send a check, and please take this down. And please keep me out of your banger deportation videos. When it comes to immigration, and my thoughts and heart are a lot more nuanced than this video allows. Bye. Gay! Now, you could argue that Theo Von is scared that someone's going to try to assassinate him like Charlie Kirk. Because realistically, this is the Department of Homeland Security using his face for their deportations, which people have died over. So I can understand the idea of wanting to puss out, because that's what it is. Not trying to say that as an insult. It's the coward's way out, absolutely. But to be a coward and not want a target on your back, it's completely reasonable cowardice position to take. I'm not even making fun of that. I am making fun of Theo Von for other shit that he said, though. So Theo Von decided to become an incredibly big-hearted man, a man of the people, a man of empathy. Yep. So much empathy.
So much empathy.
Done, podcast interviews with Hassan Piker. You know, he's out there so empathetic to the people that want him dead. So anyway, this is in the public domain.
So easily manipulated. That's what he is.
Fully legal, in case you were curious. It does not violate copyright. It is transformative content, and therefore it doesn't matter if you don't want it. They have the right to use it, but they took it down.
And you don't get it.
They took it down anyway, and that's fine. That's fine. So far, so good. Then Theo Von decided to have a bit of an emotional tantrum moment. This is after he endorsed Trump. After he said, "Heard you got deported, dude. Bye." He decided to have a little tantrum on his podcast. Sorry if I'm not making friends this episode. I'm just calling out what I see. You could hate me. I don't care.
My father immigrated here from Nicaragua.
Legally.
Legally. He immigrated legally. Continue.
Right? Like one of my prized possessions is I have his immigration papers.
Oh, he had papers. No problem then. Stay, my homie. My grandfather immigrated to America legally. And also, he loves America. He's very proud to be American. He has contributed to the American way of life, I do believe. He's a hard-working man. He's 100 years old. 100 years old. He still does his own taxes. What a wonderful man. I love him so much. Anyway.
He came here.
Still does his own taxes.
And I have him in a frame, and him and his siblings when they came here.
Legally.
And so I have tons of thoughts about it, but
But what thoughts? We're talking about illegal immigration. That's a whole other thing.
This was just fucked up, right?
What's fucked up?
It was fucked up.
What's fucked up?
And it was everywhere.
What's
it was
fucked
like
up?
on all platforms and stuff.
They posted a video about the thing that they promised that they're doing, that you endorsed, and now they're doing. Wow, that's pretty fucked up.
So,
you
that had
made
me
a
really kind of
video joking about it. And
I get. Again, I get it if you want it to get taken down because you're scared. Because the fucking leftoid terrorists are literally killing people for this.
That had me start to get kind of paranoid and, like closing. Like
again, this paranoia, though, I don't even think it's the Charlie Kirk thing. I think the paranoia he's referring to is the fact that they might deport his dad. They might even deport
his dad's
him,
dead.
right? Because he technically is son of an immigrant. This isn't happening. There has not been one instance in all of these deportations, these millions of people that left America, willingly or unwillingly. It has never, ever been a guy legal in America. It's only been illegal invaders. You have nothing to worry about. But the media spin is they're just picking up brown and black folks off the street, throwing them in unmarked vans and putting them in dungeons.
I had the curtains in my house.
It's more than those people that have come in illegally.
That is honestly straight up evil. And it's 100%
Asians,
due to the
you
media.
got Europeans,
It's the media
a lot of people that have come in
Democrat
illegally.
environment allowing the terrorist threat in the United States against basic conservative figures to grow. So this sucks that this happens to him. And again, I'm not saying this to make fun of him. I really mean this with my whole heart. This really fucking sucks. But as a person, as part of the media that interviewed Trump, you threw your hat in the
Because he is
politics
the media.
game when you did a podcast with Trump and you
Nuts is
essentially
the media.
endorsed him. And when you threw your hat in the politics game, you got to be honest. You got to actually know what's going on. You can't literally decide to push an agenda based on fear-mongering that the media fear-mongered. You, quite frankly, lost that privilege the moment you endorsed a political candidate.
You know, you're paranoid. I woke up the next morning. Sorry, I need some water. I woke up the next morning to a text from a high government official saying, hey, if you need some extra security in your neighborhood or some extra police cars on patrol, let me know. And I'm like, what?
That's very nice. That's nice.
Extra security? I don't have any, like, you know, I don't even know the code to my Ring camera. Like, I don't even know how to log in. So it's like, what, you're just going to put police cars in my neighborhood? What are my neighbors going to think? Now they're fearful. Like,
do you realize that this is literally not Trump's fault? Do you realize this is literally the opposite of Trump's fault? Do you realize this is the leftist terrorist threat in the country's fault? The fact that basic conservative voices are feeling scared for their life is literally not Trump's fault at all, actually. And it's about kind of the people that are pushing people to kill right-wing guys.
Just like, I don't know, man. That like really kind of shook me. It really kind of shook me.
It's not like they'd be like regular police cars.
You know, and you start getting security, and then now you have security, right? And the thing is, you just don't know. You just don't know. Right? There was a moment on the, like, it was White House, because the White House also put this out.
So anyway, I'll be real. It's kind of a bitchy response. That said, I get his fear. His fear is valid. It's a fear of leftists. It's not a fear of right-wing. It's not anti-Trump. It's not an anti-Trump fear. But he phrases it as I'm jumping off the Trump train. And he's kind of backstabbing the movement that he helped push. I mean, he did a podcast with 17 million views with Trump. So it makes me scared because, you know, my grandfather immigrated. No, he immigrated legally. That's another discussion entirely. So again, interestingly enough, Theo Von has done the media run in Qatar. He has been part of the Qatar homies, which interestingly led him down all these like anti-Israel conspiracy theories about how, you know, Israel might have killed Charlie Kirk or whatever. I don't know, who knows? And which is retarded. And you know, essentially, he's been going down that path. He's been very anti-Trump and anti-government, interestingly enough. So Asmongold also reacted to this. He did a little clip. I wanted to see what he had to say.
We have political drama today? Yeah. Oh, no. There's been a lot of people mad at me. A lot of people mad at me. You know, I've been asking myself the question, am I the last honest person in media?
Great question.
So there was an article that came out yesterday, and it was from the Rolling Stone. It said, I voted for none of this.
There it is. There it is. Theo Von regretting. I voted for none of this when I voted for Trump. Except he literally voted for all of this.
Prominent influencers like Theo Von, Joe Rogan, and Andrew Schultz are trying to distance themselves from the president. They helped propel to the White House. Basically, this is what I said. I said, aside from the Epstein stuff, Trump is doing exactly what he said he would do. And so a lot of people took me saying, aside from the Epstein stuff, and
aside from the industrial child rape factory. I can see why people would get upset at the wording. But no, he's completely right.
Assumed that this meant, oh, I was okay with the Epstein stuff or some other variation of that. These are all videos that I've made criticizing Donald Trump interacting with and the way that he's handled the Jeffrey Epstein issue. I have single-handedly probably brought more people, more views to this issue than almost anybody else on the whole fucking internet. But everybody's trying to act like I'm trying to sweep for it. This is what really makes me mad. This guy posts a fucking meme. If I win, I will do this thing, does the thing, voters that back Trump when he does the thing, and he gets...
Exactly. Trump will do this thing if he wins, deport people. If I win, I will do this thing, deport people. Sources inside say that Trump will do the thing if elected, deport people. Gets elected, deports people. Everyone that supported Trump, oh my God, I can't believe it.
44,000 likes. Nobody's getting mad at him.
Yeah, because he didn't say aside from the Epstein. It's literally a word game thing. Dude, the entire leftist movement is a hyper-feminized, emotionally charged group of retards. Dude, you know, like sometimes you'll like be with your girlfriend or your wife or something, and you'll say something completely innocuous, but because of the phrasing, she gets offended. I feel like that is the entire leftist hemisphere of the internet. That's my opinion. And I feel like we're living it. We're literally living
How are you doing, kiddo?
But meanwhile, everybody's mad at me. Another component to this is that Theo
Yeah, so anyway, I'll show this in a minute. But the point is, if you look at this actual clip, I voted for none of this, says Theo Von. Liar! You voted for all of this. Every single bit of it. Trump has actually kept as many promises as he possibly could. He literally has. So, El Bozo, sorry. You're a cuck. So, Steve Crowder decided to post this.
Osmond Gold, who has not held himself out as any type of conservative bro or anything like that, he posted something pretty damn sensible last night. He wrote, aside from the Epstein stuff, Trump is doing exactly what he said he would do. Maybe there's too many crying Karens on social media, so they're afraid of the optics, but this seems so dishonest. It won't work either. The bridge is burned, and those people will always hate them. Yeah, I think that's pretty well said.
Truth is, it's right. It's just the phrasing, and the phrasing is what pissed off the feminoids. So anyway, Osmond Gold responds, thank you. Another component to this is Theo very obviously is afraid of being the next target for political violence after Charlie Kirk. I mentioned that. That's the main reason why he crashed out over the Department of Homeland Security using his clip in one of their videos, not because of politics. Again, I think it's a mix of things. I think it's because he's the empathy guy. He is the empathy guy in the podcast world. And, you know, he'll do like the Free Palestine stuff, and, you know, he'll make friends with the Qatar people that are super nice to him and lick his balls. And despite the fact that they literally have slaves and literally support terrorists, in fact, Hamas, the guys that started the entire war with Gaza, are given safe haven in Qatar. But he's friends with Qatar, which ultimately is a much greater cause for all of the Palestine issues than, you know, anything America's doing, which is why he hates Trump so much. So anyway, the crazy thing is, that's just the reality. Introducing the next retard on the gaggle of retard fraud sellouts. Not making any friends today. Again, I don't actually hate any of these people personally. I just think this is a huge cuck move. So this is what Andrew Schultz had to say.
I believe when Trump, everything he campaigned on, I believe he wanted to do. And now he's doing the exact opposite thing of every single time.
Except he's literally doing everything that he promised. Except for release the Epstein files, which again, big fuck up in my opinion. But except for that, he literally is doing everything. He promised mass deportations. That was the number one thing he ran on. The number one thing he ran on was mass deportations and close the border. He closed the border and he's deporting people based as fuck. He promised law and order.
That's exactly what he promised.
Against every liberal that wants there to be more crime and shit. Right? These are things he promised to try his best to stop wars. He has been trying his best tirelessly to stop wars. In fact, he stopped a bunch of wars. Like, you know, India, Pakistan, hopefully Israel, Gaza. You know, and he is trying to do that shit. He actually kept every single promise, except for releasing the Epstein files. Big fuck up. Not the point. But again, you voted for this and you endorsed this.
Know what he's done. Yeah, exactly to your point. If you tell me, it's easier for me to believe
He said he was going to put tariffs. He put tariffs. He literally kept all of his promises. That's the craziest part, except for Epstein.
Wanted to do all these things if any of them were happening in the way that you said they would.
To that point, like there'll be people that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like,
yeah, true.
I voted for none of this.
Pussy, coward, own it, bitch. Own it. Own every morsel of it.
He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Deportation and it'll be the largest deportation in the history of our country. And
I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them.
He's funding them? He's funding the wars? First of all, he stopped a bunch of wars. So, A, you're retarded. Moving on.
I want him to...
He shut down the funding to Ukraine to a large extent. He basically got NATO to increase the amount, all of the NATO countries to increase the amount that they're spending. They upped it from 2 to 5% of the spending is now coming from European countries, each European country individually, except for Spain. And he's literally cut off funding for these wars and stopped a bunch of them.
Shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do except sending immigrants back.
All right.
And now he's even flip-flopped on that, which I kind of like. But he's
you deserve none of this. You deserve all the backlash you're getting, my guy. And I don't want any hate to come to you. I hope you're safe. Hope you're well. Hope everything's good. You got what you voted for.
Like, oh, well, we kind of need the people working in restaurants, and we need our farmers.
Pussy, coward, bitch, coward. I think everyone illegal has got to go. That's my opinion. If you're illegal, go. Become
that's
legal.
The slave ideology.
Illegal, go. That's my opinion. But anyway, coward.
They're gonna do the job nobody wants to do. Who can pay them at a cheaper rate? Well,
again, pushing him, and he endorsed
not legal.
So yeah, are we really surprised? This is Andrew Schultz, by the way, who went to the Riyadh Comedy Festival in Saudi Arabia. So this dude is literally going to sit there and yap about Trump funding wars and treating and being racist or fascist or any of that shit. And you're going to go dance like a monkey in front of trillionaire Saudi royals who literally still have slaves? This is a level of corruption I've never seen before. They literally have slaves. Now, you might recognize another character on this poster. You probably recognize a lot of these guys. They all went to dance like monkeys. This is Bill Burr. Bill Burr's also, super anti-woke.
Hey man, it's Bill Burr. What's going on? I'm coming back to Abu Dhabi, right?
That's right, I'm coming to Abu Dhabi. I am going to Saudi Arabia. It's gonna be amazing. Anyway, this is what he had to say about rich people.
Billionaires, they need to be put down, you know, like fucking rabid dogs. They're like rabid with fucking greed and just going out and just dividing everybody.
Yeah, so Mr. Kill the Billionaires, put them down like rabid dogs.
Mr. Millionaire.
To dance in front of trillionaire Saudi royalty. All these fucking guys are bought. They're all bought. Every single one of them is fucking bought. It's actually unreal to watch this in real time. They're all fucking bought. Every single one of them. All of them. They're all bought. They all have the Netflix special and shit, which is, again, funded by retard land. Obama is like a big Netflix guy, Netflix backer. All right, so, like, dude, is anyone surprised here? This is insane. All of these podcasters are bought by Arabs, or they're literally just trying to be like these super flip-floppy, woke, bleeding hearts, you know, anti-establishment people, or they're literally scared for their lives because of a leftist terrorist threat. Moving on to the next comedian podcaster. This is Dave Smith. Here's what he had to say about Trump in 2019.
I would be very happy for to see Donald Trump impeached.
All right, so that's what he had to say in 2019. He wants Trump impeached. Let's see if he stays consistent.
For the illegal, immoral, borderline war of genocide that he's been helping the Saudis conduct in Yemen. Even grading on a curve. He is a war criminal who deserves to be tried and buried under the prison, just right alongside Barack Obama and George W. Bush and John McCain and all.
All right, so again, Dave Smith says bury him under the prison about Trump.
The rest of them.
Let me just say this real quick.
I'm
Donald Trump should be in prison for war
Shut
crimes for what he did to the people of Yemen. How's that for taking on the right? You're just defending your Democratic president. I actually stand on principle.
All right, so that's 2021, him saying that. So that's 3 clips, 2019, 2021, and another one from 2021. Trump literally needs to get executed and buried under the cemetery, under the prison. All right, let's hear what he had to say in 2024.
Lockdowns and keeping Fauci on the job and Yemen and Israel and Iran, and there's just like government spending, and there's just a lot of them that it's like I just kind of can't forgive him for, but I think I might vote for Trump.
Yeah, Donald.
All right, so that's so he endorses Trump at the end. That's Dave Smith endorsing Trump in 2024. Now move on to 2025.
Trump, listen, man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one.
Yeah, so what he was referring to, this one, is bombing the Iranian nuclear facility. Again, something Trump literally promised he was going to do. Before Trump ran for president, he said Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. They cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. He said it 1,000 fucking times. All of you heard it. Everyone knows it. He becomes the president.
Now they have a
They're
ballistic
developing
missile.
a nuclear weapon. They enrich uranium to 60% enrichment when they only need 2% for actual nuclear power. 60% will only be used for weapons. There has never been an instance in all of history where uranium was enriched to 60% and they did not develop a nuclear weapon. He told them to stop. They didn't stop. He gave them a deadline. They didn't stop. He bombed the fuck out of him. Literally what he voted for. Not one American died. Thank God, not a single American died. We were not dragged into a massive war, and Iran isn't going to nuke us anytime soon. Thank God for President Trump dodging a bullet, and so did the country. So again, this is him saying that because Donald Trump bombed Iran, interestingly enough, he's pro-Iran in this stance where he says, nope, we can't. We have
he's pro-Arab Middle East. That's what he's pro.
Cemetery. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see the pattern that I'm noticing? Are you noticing the same way I am noticing?
Can't stand
These people
Dave
are all
Smith.
bought.
He's
They're
annoying.
all somehow making alliances with the worst fucking people out there. All these podcast bros. They're all comedians. They're all podcasters. But because the media was such a deceitfully, disgustingly lying sack of shit that you cannot ever take serious. You can't trust the mainstream media at all. So because you can't, we move to decentralized media. We move to podcasters. We move to Dave Smith, to Bill Burr, to whoever listens to Bill Burr is fucking retard, to Andrew Schultz. We move to Theo Vaughn, you know? We move to Joe Rogan. We move to people who are decentralized, who aren't bought and paid for. Now, half of them are bought and paid for, just by foreign nations instead of ours. That's one. And the other half of them are just cowards. Cowards that are willing to backtrack because of either public sentiment or because they're scared of leftist terrorists killing them. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a deep dive that I really wish someone else would have done as effectively as I have. I saw a lot of people criticizing Joe Rogan individually or Theo Von individually. This is a massive issue. The counterculture people are cowards. These are actual cowards that are not willing to stand up for what they believe in. And now, I actually kind of like a lot of these people. I think they're funny, and some of them I never heard them tell a joke, but you know, some of them I think are funny, and I think that for the most part they are really trying to do good, or what they think is good. I just think they're so captured by either their audience, by the leftists, by the media. They're just not genuine thinkers anymore. And that's why I'm the media now. That's why, in my opinion, we need a new generation of media. Because this, I think, was really powerful to decentralize the media. The podcast bros taking over. But I think that, to some extent, you have to realize what you're listening to. You are ultimately listening to a guy who, for any myriad of reasons, could change his mind on a dime for a little bit of Saudi Arabia pussy. So definitely subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Let's keep deporting illegals despite the death threats that I get. All right, we will never, ever, ever be dropping Charlie Kirk's microphone. I will fucking hold and scream into that bloody microphone until I can't. God bless the United States of America, and stay weird, fam. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live.
Oh. It's hilarious.
Massive announcement. This month, I'm back to daily upload. So 1 video every day, 30 videos for the entirety of September. So come back and check every day. Hello, noble ones. Welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today we are here back again because of your curiosity. Every time we read and study the ancient Romans, particularly in their military efforts, we always think and talk about ancient Roman roads. They built so many in so many places, in fact, throughout multiple continents. And what's crazy is that not only their engineers could come up with solutions in order to produce roads that are still working today, millennia. Could you imagine putting that one on your CV? Yeah, I've only produced like 16 roads, not 20 like the other guy, but mine they're still standing up. I'm gonna last.
You can't even make a road that
years.
lasts
Thank you
for
very much. But also
months.
another thing that makes it fascinating is how they do it. Like oftentimes when we think of road building, we imagine civilians, right? You got like bricklayers, construction workers, and all that kind of stuff that are building the roads. But for the Romans, oftentimes, roads and bridges were built by the military. How about we dive into it? Alright, so let's begin with one of the most famous and important ancient Roman roads ever built. In fact, I want to remove myself. What you see here in front of you is the Appian Way, which was the first of the great Roman roads, in Italian, Via Appia. It was begun by the censor Appius Claudius in 312 BC, hence the name, and originally ran southeast from Rome, 162 miles, 261 kilometers, to the city of Tarentum, and it ended up connecting Rome to Capua. The ancient Roman road system stands as one of humanity's most remarkable engineering accomplishments, showcasing advanced construction techniques, strategic vision, and extraordinary longevity. The first thing we have to consider is the fact that Roman road construction commenced with sophisticated planning processes, and very much of the building philosophy was focused on quality construction practices. Road construction often started from 2 simultaneous opposing points that eventually joined a very bumpy road, but the original practice was to produce a surface that was no doubt much closer to being flat. But really the first thing that I find to be impressive is its scale. I mean, look at this map. This was done in classical antiquity. Just take a moment to think about that. They had no cars, no engines, no mechanical devices. Well, they did, but not in the modern sense. And yet, behold, indeed the massive network scale and the total infrastructure is the first and possibly most impressive aspect of this. The Roman road system represented an unprecedented transportation network. The entirety of it comprised more than 400,000 kilometers or 250,000 miles of roads, of which over 80,500 kilometers or 50,000 miles were stone paved. In total, the Romans built an estimated 53,000 miles of roads throughout their vast empire,
Wow.
about 11,000 more miles than the United States had of interstate highways in 1995. This, for instance, is a picture of a section of Via delle Gallie in the region of Valle d'Aosta in Italy. Note that no physical barrier would stop them. This road was excavated by cutting down sections of the mountain in order to provide enough space. Yeah. Oh, a mountain? Not a problem, sire. I mean, they wouldn't say sire. Caesar. Julius Caesar. Legatus. Legate, actually. Don't be a modern muppet and conjugate properly. I know I keep coming back to this picture, but literally we need to talk more about the continental coverage. Roman road system was an outstanding transportation networks of the ancient Mediterranean world because it extended from Britain to the Tigris and Euphrates river system and from the Danube River to Spain and northern Africa. During its zenith under the reign of Septimius Severus in 211 AD, the mighty Roman Empire stretched over much of Europe, from the Atlantic to the Ural Mountains, and from modern-day Scotland to the Sahara of the Arabian Gulf. Picture that. Now, of course, on this video, I'm going to tell you how they did it, how they built these roads, what the differences would be between modern roads and ancient or classical antiquity roads that we see. But I first want to focus on one thing: the construction timeline, and most importantly, workforce deployment. Generally, a Roman road could take several months to a few years to complete. For instance, a straight road over a relatively flat landscape could be constructed in less time, sometimes within a year. However, in challenging terrains with obstacles like rivers or mountains, road construction could extend for several years. However, as mentioned, we have to consider military engineering corps, which clearly speed up the process. Generally, the labor of constructing the road was carried out by the army. There were many engineers in the ancient Roman army, and their knowledge of roads, bridges, aqueducts, and fort constructions were vital in the building and production of the roads. Like most major Roman fortifications and public works, Roman roads were primarily built by the legionaries, the legions themselves, as they expanded their territories, areas of dominion, and pacified external areas. Alright, that's great. How did they make? Take a look at the following picture. What you see here is what would be considered advanced stratified construction. Roman engineers developed a sophisticated multi-layer approach that provided unmatched stability and longevity. What? You thought they just put a bunch of stones on top of the whatever the heck soil and called it a day? This is Rome. We're talking about this is Rome. First of all, let's talk about the base layer. The first layer was a base of large stones or rubble, usually around 20 centimeters thick, which provided a solid foundation. So they had to dig in order to get to the depth needed in order to create this solid foundation. The base layer in Latin is called statumen. Then we have the secondary layer, called rudus. Above the foundation was a layer of smaller stones and mortar, approximately 25 centimeters thick. The use of mortar was essential in binding the materials and providing a robust underlayer.
Thank you for the
then
follow,
we go into
says.
the intermediate layer, called nucleus. This was a layer of fine gravel or crushed stones, which formed a solid yet smoother surface. This layer was usually around 20 centimeters thick. The fourth layer is called surface layer, or pavimentum. This is a layer of polygonal stone slabs fitted closely together to form a durable surface. The stones were often cut to create a cambered shape, allowing water to drain off easily to the sides. The most prestigious roads had a top surface of dressed stone blocks, cobbles or slabs of volcanic tuff, limestone or basalt. Another interesting fun fact is that the Romans continuously innovated their engineering elements of road construction. The road was first built straight. It was not built flat. A design aspect of the road was that it had an arc with a dual slope. What this looked like was that the highest point was at the center, and from there, the pavement slopes downwards to the sides. This ground design channeled water away from the roadbed, preventing saturation and frost damage. Literally, if they told me, like, think about one word for the Romans, I would say plan ahead. That's 2 words. The reason why we know how this was made is not just by sort of reverse engineering them or studying and analyzing material goods and evidence, but it's also because of a set of tablets called the Laws of the 12 Tablets, dated about 450 BC, which required that any public road, in Latin via, be 8 Roman feet, perhaps about 2.37 meters wide, and it needed to be straight and twice that width when curved. Roman roads varied in thickness, but the typical road was around 3 to 5 feet, so 1 to 1.5 meters thick. Hey, look, I found another amazing map of all the roads. I don't know why, but this is my favorite thing.
Yeah, well.
Maps. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high research content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Now let's talk about the next impressive element: longevity and, of course, maintenance. When you look at an ancient Roman road, really the first thing that strikes the mind is its conditions, considering these are millennia old. So the exceptional longevity factors is going to be the next focus of this investigation. You see, Roman roads were notable for their straightness, solid foundations, cambered surfaces, facilitating drainage, and all of the things we mentioned. And some of this was also due to the type of materials used, such as volcanic ash and lime. And it was precisely the incorporation of volcanic materials that provided hydraulic properties that strengthened over time. In other words, the engineering philosophy was that these roads were built to last. Maybe something we can learn from. Roman roads were already built with the concept of trying to need as little repair as possible in mind. They were building roads that would not need frequent repair, and therefore this became their main goal. The structural resilience of Roman roads can be explained the following way. Of course, Roman roads varied. Some were simpler, but main roads were using deep roadbeds of tamped rubble as an underlying layer to ensure that they kept dry, as the water would flow out between the stones and fragments of rubble instead of becoming mud in clay soils. Therefore, the Romans adapted the construction of the roads depending on the type of territory, soil, and environmental characteristics, plus also keeping typical weather conditions and climate in mind. It was the layered system that distributed loads effectively while maintaining drainage integrity. So, a two-in-one, if you will. Another interesting aspect is the travel efficiency. Horse-drawn carts could travel up to 40 to 50 kilometers, so 25 to 31 miles per day, while pedestrians traveled 20 to 25 kilometers, so 12 to 16 miles per day. And all of this was by achieving the best, most straight, and easiest path possible, while also being the safest. And mind you, not only safest in the sense that this is going to be an area where everybody is going to travel, and so you know that it's less likely that you're going to be attacked because you're in the middle of everything. But another reason is that you're not going to get lost. Because you remember that it's not like these people had GPS, given there were maps. But if you're just a regular person, you might not be able to afford one. And oftentimes, a lot of this was built, and the ability to travel in the classical period and in the Middle Ages was based on memory and personal experience. But this way, the state would ensure that they would do that for you, and all you need to do is just follow the roads, and they will lead you to wherever you needed to go, without having to cross forests, or without having to risking to end up in an area that might not even be under the control of the Republic or the Empire.
Never really thought of it that way.
Dangers. To give you an example, in 9 BC, using these roads, the future emperor Tiberius was able to travel almost 350,000 kilometers, or 217.48 miles, in 24 hours to be by the side of his dying brother, Drusus. While that's amazing, I do not envy the troops that had to march at that speed, because do remember, the emperor, yeah, it's amazing, but the emperor is on horseback. So, I mean, a little easier, right? Poor heavy infantry. Well, technically not poor, they're always well paid. What we can say really is that the Roman network epitomizes ancient engineering excellence. The result? A transportation infrastructure that surpassed anything built for the next 1,000 years. And with that, thank you very much for your curiosity. Keep asking those questions.
Very interesting.
I'll keep delivering the videos. And remember, the Metatron has spread his wings.
Let's see, what else does Metatron have to give? About sleep.
Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today's topic is slavery. So I found this channel called Parabellum, 62,000 subscribers, and they made a video called How Much Did Roman Slaves Cost? Now, I've seen several channels and videos tackle the way slavery worked in classical antiquity, specifically ancient Rome, but never really saw anyone ask this direct question, which I do appreciate. So, hopefully the video is good. I will try not to interrupt him too much, but at the same time, when I do my React videos, I always try to make them as transformative as possible, because I don't want to just sit down like some YouTubers do and just let him talk for 15 minutes and say nothing. I'll try to find a sweet spot, so thank you for your patience, and let's go.
Imagine a slave market at the Forum Borarium in Rome. The auctioneer shouts, "Greek boy, 12 years old, can read and write. Starting bid, 1,500 denarii. Who's going higher?" Chalk on his feet marks him as newly arrived. Next to him stands a worn-out Thracian farmhand going for just 500. On the platform, a young Syrian woman, her beauty alone priced at 6,000. So how did the Romans put a price on a human life?
All right, so he's starting strong. He's really starting strong. Note how the Greek boy was priced very high. In general, Greek slaves, whether it be a boy, girl, man, woman, doesn't really matter. As long as you're Greek, that's one of the most sought-after type of slave in the Roman world. And the sources do mention the reasons. One is, of course, his ability to read and write. But most importantly, Greeks speak Greek, which means they can teach your kids, even if you're a middle class, if you can afford one, middle to upper class, and you can afford a Greek slave. From the Roman perspective, it's good because, one, the Greek slave can now teach Greek to your kids. You know how important that would be in ancient Rome. And two, it makes you look more affluent. Sometimes the Romans even went as far as giving Greek names to slaves that weren't Greeks just to show off.
What affected those prices, and how do these amounts compare to modern money? Let's break it down. Slave markets were the beating heart of Rome's slave trade. People were bought and sold as casually as we buy a new phone today. And just like us, the Romans loved paperwork. Every sale came with a contract, receipts for the money, and written proof of delivery, not of goods, but of people.
From their point of view, they are goods. I know this sounds horrible, but just to give you the perspective of the period, the Romans tell us in their sources that a slave is a, open quotes, talking tool, close quotes.
Because of that, we now have a window into the brutal everyday reality of slavery in the Roman world. Slavery was part of Roman life from the city's beginning to the fall of the Western Empire. Naturally, prices changed over time, rising and falling with wars, the economy, and shifts in society. In this video, we're focusing on a specific stretch of time, from the 1st century BC to the 2nd century AD. Why this period? Because it's simply the one we know the most about. Take the Corpus Inscriptionum Latinarum, a massive collection of all known Latin inscriptions. It spans 17 volumes, and 16 of them come from the imperial period. The same goes for literature. About 90% of surviving Roman texts were written during this era. Even famous authors from the Republic like Cicero, Caesar, and Lucretius were active in its final years. Altogether, over 90% of our sources on ancient Rome come from just the last 40% of its history. So it's no surprise that this is the period most historians rely on. But it's not just about having more records. This was also the peak of Roman slavery.
Absolutely.
After Caesar's campaigns, the markets were flooded with hundreds of thousands of captives, and at the same time, the Roman economy was still relatively stable. That's what sets this period apart from later centuries, which saw rising inflation and a collapsing currency. It's during this window that we get the clearest picture of how the Roman slave market really worked, with consistent prices, clear standards, and a fully developed system.
I wish that people who draw anything that has to do with the classical period would start to put the correct colors, because all of these white temples, white structures, white columns, white statues, they would have instead all have been in full color. Red and green columns and blue and yellow. This is what we would have seen. And I'm from the Mediterranean, so I enjoy the idea of Mediterranean polychromatic culture to be correctly represented. With that being said, talking about color, did you notice that a lot of these slaves are white? The Romans didn't slave based on ethnicity at that time, which means that the Romans weren't racists. They hated everyone equally. They wasn't Roman. And so, yeah, this guy who's blonde,
you weren't Roman, you were
from
hated.
the point of view of the Romans, would he be considered a white guy? No, because the Romans actually used the term white to refer to themselves. They refer to the Nordic type as blondes, and then they call black people Ethiopians. That's what they call them, even those that are not from Ethiopia. It's kind of a general term. It's because it comes from the Greek burnt face. With that being said, someone who was blonde like this, clearly probably a Gaul, I imagine in this case, or from a Germanic tribe, so either Celtic side or Germanic side. Usually this is a typical phenotypic trait, and to the Romans this would have been a blonde, like they actually called them as a category of people.
Put simply, this 250-year stretch is ideal for study. It gives us a wealth of sources and a fully developed slave market to examine. So what determined whether a slave was priced at 500 or 5,000 denarii? The Romans approached this with cold, calculated logic.
Yeah.
They valued people the way they value livestock. The first thing that affected a slave's price was their origin. Romans held strong, often stereotypical views about different ethnic groups. Greeks, for example, were seen as cultured, educated, and intelligent. They were also thought to be less likely to run away or rebel, which made them highly sought after. Greek slaves were typically used for household duties, childcare, or as personal assistants and secretaries.
Yes.
Gauls and Germans were valued for their physical strength and toughness, which made them ideal for gladiator training. Gauls had a reputation for being rebellious, while Germans were seen as loyal to their masters. They were often bought specifically for hard labor, farming, construction, mining, or even as personal bodyguards, especially if they had gladiatorial experience.
Yeah, in fact, after some of the most successful gladiators, of course, we know that some get freed, right? That's one of the things they can do, but others get employed by aristocrats and people with money. They're like, oh, that guy really knows how to fight. He's big, he's imposing, he's scary. I want him to defend me, or I want him to defend my children. Like, that's something the Romans did. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.
Slaves from the East were viewed differently. Syrians, Phoenicians, and Judeans were considered skilled in crafts, money lending, and trade. They were often thought of as clever and shrewd in business. Because of that, they were frequently purchased to manage estates or oversee profitable businesses on behalf of their owners. Slaves from newly conquered territories were usually cheaper, but that changed as those regions became more Romanized. Once the locals started speaking Latin, learned to read and write, and adopted Roman customs, their market value went up.
Right, but someone who, I mean, if by that time you wouldn't be enslaved anymore unless there is a secondary reason, because sometimes there are, like, debt is one way by which even citizen may end up in slavery. It's very rare with citizens, but it's at least they might decide to go into the gladiatorial realm by their decision rather than being enslaved or turned into slaves.
Another major factor was skill and education.
Yes.
Unskilled laborers were at the bottom of this price range, while slaves with valuable trades, literacy, or a classical education, especially those fluent in Latin and other languages, were worth much more. A basic slave with no special talents might just go for a few hundred denarii, but a skilled craftsman could fetch,
I gotta say it, sorry, denarii.
10 times that. Pliny the Younger mentions a shoemaker who was sold for 4,000 denarii. For comparison, a regular legionary at the time earned about 20 denarii a month. Intellectual professions were valued even higher. There are accounts of a Greek grammarian being sold for 10,000 denarii and a doctor for 20,000, about the cost of a small house in Rome. The poet Martial writes about a cook who specialized in exotic recipes. He sold for a jaw-dropping 100,000 denarii, the price of a full country estate.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. It's like, who the heck is he?
Wow.
Gordonicus Ramseius. That's who that is. A lot of red tunics here. We might talk about tunics and colors later, we'll see.
And a talented Greek actor named Panurgus reportedly sold for an astonishing 700,000 denarii. Slaves like that weren't just hired help, they were status symbols, bought to show off wealth, sophistication, and taste.
Yep.
The third major factor was age. Slaves between 15 and 25 were the most expensive, old enough to work hard, young enough to last for decades. Children were more of a gamble. infants and toddlers were often sold cheaply, sometimes even given away for free with their mothers, since there was no guarantee that they would survive.
Right.
But once a child reached around 10, their price started to rise. Romans saw them as a good investment, young, easy to train, and already capable of helping out. Wealthy families would sometimes buy children to raise alongside their own as companions for their sons and daughters. These vernae, or homeborn slaves, were especially prized for their loyalty. After 25, a slave's value began to...
Of course, because that's everything, that's all they've ever known. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that?
...decline. By the age of 40, they might be worth only half of what they would have fetched in their prime. After 50, a slave was considered old and only valuable if they had specialized skills. Many elderly slaves were simply freed, not out of kindness, but to avoid the cost of feeding and housing them. If they were sold at all, it was often for a token amount. We even have records of 60-year-old slaves being sold for as little as 100 denarii, or less. That said, there were exceptions. An experienced doctor or teacher could still bring in a decent price thanks to their knowledge. A trusted estate manager who knew all the inner workings of a household could remain useful well into old age. But for most slaves, getting older meant simply becoming invisible, and expendable at that.
Absolutely. Pretty good video so far. I'm going to skip the central part just to give an opportunity for those who like this to see it as a demo of the original creator. So then you can go, give him a like, leave him a comment, and perhaps finish watching the video on their channel. But I do want to see this final part to hear their conclusions. Oh, they're doing it for the years of service. That's actually interesting. Let's see.
Slave prices. An average male slave with no special skills went for about 1,000 denarii, just a little more than a year's salary for a legionary.
Yeah.
That kind of money could also buy you a small shop in the suburbs of Rome. A skilled slave trained in a trade might cost around 3,000 denarii. A legionary would have to serve for 3.5 years just to afford one. An attractive young woman priced at 6,000 denarii. That's nearly 7 years of a soldier's pay. For the same amount, you can buy a modest villa outside of the city.
Yeah, I would like to underline, though, the pay of the legionaries changes dramatically the further forward you go in time and depending on the emperor in charge. So this is just an approximation. Also, cool drawing. The sword should be on the right, though. That's because he's clearly not an officer, so the sword should be on the right side.
A slave physician could sell for 20,000 denarii, the price of a luxurious estate.
Unless you're an officer.
These numbers are staggering, but behind each one was a real person, a child ripped from their family, a craftsman forced to serve a new master, a woman sold into a brothel. The slave market was cold, calculated, and brutally efficient, and it never stopped. It adapted, expanded, and lasted for over 1,000 years.
Yeah, slavery is it's very recent. It really is very recent, the abolition of slavery. And the reality is that it probably goes... I mean, for the Romans, it's the most sophisticated and well-organized because the Romans were more efficient at anything. Whether it be good things, whether it be bad things, the efficiency remains. But slavery and taking people as slaves is something that would probably go back to the Paleolithic, I'll be honest with you. Anyways, very good video. I appreciated it. I'll probably watch more. And thank you for watching. And you will find links in the description and pinned comment.
Cool.
Israel is increasing pressure on Hamas to release the remaining bodies of the dead hostages in Gaza. Trudy McIntosh is live in the studio. Trudy, where is this up to?
Well, Kieran, so far only 4 of the dead bodies of the hostages that have been held in Gaza have been released to Israel. Another 24 remain. Now, this is increasingly becoming one of the top priorities for the Israeli government. Now, all of the living hostages have been released. The pictures you can see on your screen are of the first bodies that were brought out in the last 24 hours. Crucial identification checks have to be done at the morgue as well to ensure that these bodies are actually who Hamas say they are. In the past, they have sent out the wrong body compared to who they said it was. There has always been this suggestion, despite Hamas agreeing to release all of the living and the dead, that some of the bodies, they either don't know where they are or they can't locate in this terror group who'd been holding people in this series of tunnels deep underground. Israel's Defense Minister, Israel Katz, has released this statement stressing the urgency and a warning to Hamas about breaching the agreement. He says, quote, "The urgent mission to which we are all committed now is to ensure the return of all the abducted bodies home. Hamas's announcement about the expected return of 4 bodies is a failure to meet commitments. Any delay or deliberate avoidance will be considered a gross violation of the agreement and will be responded accordingly."
Viverd.
So these are still fragile
Viverd.
moments in the Middle East. We've seen the
follow.
US President Donald Trump there on the ground in Israel, as you saw in that earlier report, also in Egypt, signing off on the next stage of the agreement with regional players here. He spoke to Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst before flying out of Israel. He was asked about what was central in securing a breakthrough, which has been intractable so far for 2 years. He pointed to the US mission of bombing Iranian nuclear facilities. That, he believes, was the major factor in bringing people to the table.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it really started when we took out the nuclear capability of Iran. When you look at what they had, you couldn't have made this deal if somebody's sitting over there with a nuclear weapon over your head. And if you had it, number one, I don't think the Arab and Muslim nations would be able to sign because they'd be afraid of Iran. You know, they were known as the bully of the Middle East. And even more importantly, even if they did sign, you'd be
Iran's got a lot of problems going on in that country.
If we look at the domestic politics here at home in reaction to what's been happening in the Middle East, we have One Nation leader Pauline Hanson writing directly to the Prime Minister and then publishing this letter. She is demanding that the Prime Minister halt the visas for Palestinians who came here during the conflict. Sky News has reached out to the Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke's office.
I'm amazed. I've seen people like defending those Islamists saying death to America as it's just a setting. That's ridiculous.
That is. We know there's also a separate cohort in Gaza who've been issued visas by the Australian government, but they weren't able to actually come here. That number, Tony Burke, the Home Affairs Minister, yesterday estimated was between 600 and 700 people, Kieran, who'd been issued that visa but hadn't come back.
I don't think
he stressed yesterday that this cohort, in his words, have had the most security checks
Might as
of
well
almost
change your
anyone
saying to something
in terms
else
of
then.
ensuring that they should be given visas. So we'll watch and wait for comment from the Home Affairs Minister's office, but there's still some detail to be.
So, yes, somehow it's happened again. Another plane has hit the tower.
I'm gonna put the Y shot. Boom.
Yes, again.
Hi, Jack. No. I'm gonna put the Y shot. Boom.
Yes, again.
Hi, Jack.
This is the remote for the vibrating gate, I swear. Why does he move this one specific thing out of the frame? It's clearly the ET300 remote that he is literally holding up on his stream. He's hiding it in plain sight. Oh God. This is the one people thought it was. And it's in the exact same spot that it always is in those clips. Educator ET3000 Mini. Compare this to the back of the remotes. Okay. Oh, man.
Gee.
Oh, gee. Lion Ted. Bro, what? So this is 100% unequivocally proven now? If I had to bet on it, I'd bet that this is what happened. Why doesn't he just say he uses it? He never admits that he's wrong, even about, like, anything really small. And I think that...
I mean, this was
I
pretty
think that's
big.
really kind of it creates a false sense of security, and eventually, you know, you do that for long enough, and you have a fuck up like this, and that's it.
Oh, Hassan. Oh, that's a good question.
Hello, number ones. Welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. And whenever we hear the words PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, we imagine, of course, the military. We think of our veterans. We think even of people that participated to wars that have happened a few decades ago. And then we think the kind of atrocities and terrible situations, particularly if they had to deal with combat, that could cause such condition. However, the question today is whether or not ancient soldiers experienced PTSD.
Finally asleep.
Of course, the expression didn't exist, but that doesn't mean that the symptoms, and in fact the disorder itself, wasn't a thing. Do the sources mention it? Well, how about we find out? And if you're a veteran watching this, thank you for your service.
Villain.
Alright, first and foremost, let's define what we are talking about before we try to apply it retrospectively to the ancients. So here we are on Mayo Clinic, and they tell us, as an overview, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is a mental health condition that's caused by an extremely stressful or terrifying event, either being part of it or witnessing it. Symptoms may include flashbacks, nightmares, severe anxiety, and uncontrollable thoughts about the event. So already this, once again, even though it's a relatively new, we'll look into the history of this, it's a relatively new descriptor, a mental condition that's caused by an extremely stressful or terrifying event. I think something like this can go back all the way to freaking Paleolithic, most likely. Let's continue. Most people who go through traumatic events may have a hard time adjusting and coping for a short time, but with time and by taking good care of themselves, they usually get better. If the symptoms get worse, last for months or years, and affect their ability to function daily, they may have PTSD. Alright, so already we can see here, I actually like this definition, is very well explained in a concise way. So really is the length. So everyone who is exposed to traumatic experiences will have a certain level of mental hardship, but with that being said, if this doesn't get better, in fact it gets worse for years, and as we see it deals with their ability to function in society, that's when we define it as PTSD. We read getting treatment after PTSD symptoms arise can be very important to ease symptoms and help people function better. So let's have a look at these symptoms very quickly. Post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms may start within the first 3 months after a traumatic event, but sometimes symptoms may not appear until years after the event. Interesting, see, I didn't know this. These symptoms last more than 1 month and cause major problems in social or work situations and how well you get along with others. They also can affect your ability to do your usual daily tasks. Generally, PTSD symptoms are grouped in 4 types: intrusive, memories, avoidance, negative changes in thinking and mood, and changes in physical and emotional reactions. Symptoms can vary over time or vary from person to person. And of course, it tells us about the intensity of the symptoms. Of course, if you are experiencing any of these, make sure you get treated properly. Don't underestimate it. And looking very quickly, this is the last piece of information to define this, the premises of this discussion. Causes. You can develop a post-traumatic stress disorder when you go through, see, or learn about an event involving actual or threatened death, serious injury, or sexual assault. Okay, well, again, I'm not a doctor, so anything I say, not a psychologist, so anything I say, do take it with a pinch of salt. It's just me using my own logic and reason. If you experience these, I can see it, of course. If you hear about it, I mean, can you really get PTSD just because you heard someone went through this? I can understand being disturbed. Sure. I don't know, you tell me if you're a medical professional. Healthcare professionals aren't sure why some people get PTSD. As with most mental health problems, a mix of factors probably causes it, including extremely stressful experiences as well as the amount of severity of trauma you've gone through in your life, inherited mental health risks, I see, such as family history of anxiety and depression, inherited features of your... Yeah, I can see this getting exasperated, like already a pre-existing conditions or propensity that gets exacerbated because of severe situations, such as, for example, what we see in the military. It doesn't seem like this only has to do with the military, but I do believe that particularly those members of the armed forces that do end up having to deal with direct combat or see, for example, your mates that you were talking to, and you know, the kind of brotherly connection that forms between people that serve in the military, and then you see them blown to pieces by a landmine. That's the kind of stuff that I think is really the most severe spectrum. But I can imagine that people have got PTSD if they had direct experience, for example, of 9/11. They weren't in the military, but I mean, seeing planes destroying, exploding stuff, and perhaps someone was there, or maybe you are a survivor, definitely that would qualify for PTSD 100%. And again, my heart goes to everyone. If you any member of your family went through that or was connected to the disaster and atrocious occurrence of 9/11, my heart goes to you and your family. Inherited features of your personality, often called your temperament, okay? And the way your brain regulates the chemicals and hormones your body releases in response to stress. Right, okay, great. Well, this gave us a little bit of an understanding. Now, for precision, the first time the PTSD was modernly diagnosed and the acronym was used occurred in the 1980s. In fact, I should be more precise, in 1980. Without the S. As I can read here, that's when it was included in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. With that being said, this does not mean that the psychological efforts connected to recognizing combat-related trauma began when the acronym was created. Now that we know what we are talking about in details, let's answer the question. Did ancient Roman soldiers experience PTSD? Now, clearly, just by the looks of it and how it's explained, I would immediately say yes, just as a matter of reason and logics. But let's see if we can add something more to that, something a bit more tangible. What do the sources say? There are several ancient sources that document what appears to be combat-related psychological trauma. They might not be as detailed and precise as our current description and mapping, but it's an excellent way to begin our analysis. The first one to mention it is in fact the father of history, Herodotus, in 480 BC, as he tells us that at the Battle of Thermopylae, where King Leonidas and 300 Spartans, together with other Greeks, took on Xerxes I and his troops, two of the Spartan soldiers, Aristodemos and another one named Euritos, reported that they were suffering from an, open quote, acute inflammation of the eyes, close quote, labeled tresantes, which means trembler. Moreover, during the Roman siege of Syracuse in 211 BC, a number of Greek soldiers defending the city were, open quotes, stricken dumb with terror, close quotes, according to Greek historian Plutarch. Appian of Alexandria described a legion veteran called Cestius Macedonicus, who, when his town was under threat of capture by the emperor-to-be Octavian or Octavianus, set fire to his own house and burned himself within it, demonstrating some sort of mental instability. Once again, Plutarch, in his Life of Marius, he speaks of Caius Marius, Behavior, who, when he found himself under severe stress towards the end of his life, he was suffering from night terrors, harassing dreams, excessive drinking, and flashbacks to previous battles. Among all the others, I think this is the most poignant and salient. Think about it. Sure, being terrified during a siege, is it really PTSD? Is it not? Possibly, you may have had repercussions because of it, but this, nightmares and specifically flashbacks. Indeed, PTSD is characterized by several symptom categories, and one of these is definitely intrusive re-experiencing symptoms. These involve involuntary reliving of the traumatic event. And flashbacks, together with nightmares, intrusive thoughts, emotional distress, and physical reactions, are definitely part of this. Flashbacks being vivid, distressing memories that feel as if the trauma is happening again. All of these will be clearly connected. Because of the flashbacks, you may have nightmares, and due to these two, you then might have emotional distress, which is psychological
I'm probably gonna stop streaming here after this video.
Reminders. And the way your body responds is your physical reactions.
But I might want some more
rapid
before I go to
as a
sleep.
connection to trauma cues. However, all of this has to do with the classical world, and in a
If you
minute
want
we will
to,
look
I
at
have
how
this
the
up here
Romans
that has some milk in
legally
it already
dealt
that
and
needs dumped
recognized
from
these
friends.
sort of behavior patterns and conditions. But before we do this, let me ask this question. How far back can we really go? Because earlier on the video I said probably you can go back all the way to the Stone Age, but we can't prove it with the sources. But what we can prove is that PTSD is definitely as ancient as Mesopotamia when it comes to its written records. The phenomenon appears to have been older than the Roman period. Researchers studying ancient Assyrian texts from Mesopotamia dating between 1300 BC to 609 BC translated and assembled their 2005 book called Diagnoses in Assyrian and Babylonian Medicine, where they discovered references to ancient soldiers afflicted with symptoms that sound remarkably similar to our current understanding of PTSD. The king of Elam is said to have had his mind changed. Soldiers were described as suffering from periods where they were forgetful. Their words were unintelligible. They would wander about and suffer regular bouts of depression. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much. On Nova, we read, ancient Mesopotamian text shows PTSD may be as old as combat itself. Yeah. Probably older. Mesopotamian texts more than 3,000 years old reveal that post-traumatic stress disorder may be as ancient as combat itself. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Researchers studying ancient texts. Here is James Gallagher's interviewing hacker Hughes for BBC News. Open quotes. The sort of symptoms after battle were clearly what we would call now post-traumatic stress symptoms. They described hearing and seeing ghosts talking to them, who would be the ghosts of people they killed in battle. And that's exactly the experience of modern-day soldiers who have been involved in close hand-to-hand combat. Close quotes. And then they continue, open quotes, as long as there has been civilization and as long as there has been warfare, there has been post-traumatic symptoms. It's not a 21st century thing, close quotes, and I have to agree. In fact, if anything, if you are a soldier, a veteran who has experienced PTSD, or if you know someone who has, well, that is one direct line of connection to the ancient warriors of the classical period. Direct line, and in fact even older. Having said that, what was the response of the ancient Roman legal framework? The Roman military had formal procedures for dealing with psychological casualties. In military law, early discharge, called missio causaria, as distinguished from either a dishonorable or honorable discharge, could be granted to a soldier for a physical or mental disability. Of course, they would have resulted due to their service. This missio causaria was an honorable discharge because of physical or mental invalidity that had to be determined by a committee of 3 army physicians. Soldiers who became unfit for service through sickness or injuries were released from service. However, this was not unlikely, but only after thorough medical examination had confirmed that it was extremely unlikely that they would ever recover sufficiently to serve again. Remarkably, Roman law even made provisions for soldiers who suffered from severe mental stress. To be specific, under Hadrian, an exception was made in the law for soldiers who were suffering from ongoing, unbearable, and likely unending physical or mental pain, in which case their will remained valid. This shows sophisticated recognition that mental anguish could be as debilitating as physical injury. Now let's have a look at how Roman physicians described the symptoms. The medical writer Celsus described the conditions of insania sine febre, which means mania without fever. This condition involved hearing and seeing things which were not real, irrationality, depression, loss of appetite, frightfulness, mood swings, eye movements, and hypervigilance. They described hearing and seeing ghosts talking to them, who would be the ghosts of the people they killed in battle, as we expressed. And when it comes to the sort of treatments that were considered appropriate, Galen is our man. For those who don't know, Galen is the ancient Roman physician, surgeon, and we could say medic. In fact, also a philosopher. Jack of all trades, I guess. And as correctly stated here, he could be considered to be one of the most accomplished of all medical researchers of antiquity. In the case of PTSD, here is what Galen reports. Galen reportedly diagnosed patients with anxiety, anger, depression, and malaise, prescribing massage, lukewarm water, wine and water, bathing, exercise, and food with sweet juices. Now, clearly, all of this is interesting, in fact, I would say impressive, but there will be some differences, and sometimes in the medical field, specifically in the psychology field, when it overlaps with historiography or history specifically, there is some debate. And clearly, their understanding of mental disorders is not the same, and we have to be careful with nomenclature. But with that being said, I think this is remarkable, and I absolutely side with those who say that there is a tether, a connection with the sort of PTSD the modern soldiers experience all the way from the First, Second World War and all the recent wars, all the way into a straight line way to the distant past. And in my opinion, as I was saying, all the way back to the beginning of mankind. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you very much for watching. Bye.
Alright, that's it for the stream for the night. Good night. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how I do.